You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
This week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, the official podcast of minor league baseball, and a continuation, our first ever to be continued episode, I think, of the Show Before the Show. I don't know, maybe it's not. Also, do you like the throwback music to kick off this episode, like we used to use back in the day? The funky little whatever it was. Welcome in. My name is Tyler Mon. Benjamin Hill and Sam Dykstra off on our Major League postseason hiatus, I guess, something like that. But if you were with us for last week's episode of the Show Before the Show, you know that we started to take a jaunt through the history of this podcast, a chronological odyssey through some of the best prospects who have joined the show and are playing or have played in the Major League Baseball postseason this year. And we're going to continue that on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Last week, we left off having heard from a guy who we called Peter Alonso. Pete Alonso, the New York Mets prospect at the time, who has now become a legend. I think it's safe to say that Pete Alonso has entered the pantheon of legends in Mets history, probably thanks just in part to the home run in Milwaukee. Would have been a legend just for that, but he's been doing a lot beyond that in his career. Our next guest on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show, a continuation of last week's, is a guy who also finds himself in the Big Apple now, but at the time when we talked to him was not yet a member of the New York Yankees organization. In fact, he was not even a member of the organization that traded him this year to the New York Yankees, the Miami Marlins. This was all the way back in the early days of the career of one Jazz Chisholm, who on episode 173 of the Show Before the Show back in August of 2018 joined us when he was a member of the Arizona Diamondbacks organization and playing for High A Visalia in the D-back system. He signed with the D-backs out of his native Nassau in the Bahamas back in 2015. And Jazz Chisholm caught up with Sam on episode 173 of the Show Before the Show, which kicks us off on the continuation of our roll through some of the best names to swing by the show over the years.
Well, we're joined this week on the Minor League Baseball podcast, the Show Before the Show, with number 2 D-backs prospect Jazz Chisholm, currently in the Class A Advanced California League with Visalia. Just got there a couple weeks ago. Jazz, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. How's it going out there so far in California?
Hi, man. Glad to be here. It's going really great out here. I mean, I'm enjoying the California League. Having fun out here.
Yeah, no, I can imagine the way things have gone, especially lately. For those who follow the D-back system probably know this already. Everybody else, you were just coming off a streak of 4 straight multi-hit games. You're hitting currently .337 with a .997 OPS. Really hitting the ground running. Obviously, the Cal League's an offensive-friendly league, but what's allowed you to hit the ground running the way you have and perform so quickly, at a newer level, having started the year at Class A Kane County?
Well, because Kane County was more of a pitcher's league, a lot of graveyards, hitting in a lot of graveyards, So coming to the California League where, okay, I can hit the ball anywhere and it'll still carry a little bit, it was like a big confidence booster. Other than like Kane County Midwest League where you have to really focus on a direction where the ball will travel in the park, or if it doesn't travel in the park at all, you're trying to just do a little bit too much in Kane County. So I hear it takes less off of you, you know.
Yeah, and how much are you guys talking about that as players, when you are in Kane County, knowing what the offensive environment is there? Like you were saying, of the 15 homers you hit at Kane County, only 5 were at home, 10 were on the road. So obviously there were some home road splits there. But when you do get the call, when you do know you're going to the higher level, how much conversation is going on of what to expect, in a new home, in a new park, and in a new league like that?
I mean, when I first got here, everybody told me like, hey, they're gonna pitch you differently than how they pitch you down there. And I was asking him like, well, what do you mean differently? Like off speed, fastballs? What's the difference? He was like, you'll get a lot more off speed. I was telling him, and I'd just be like, I think that'll be the same way they pitched me down there, you know? So when I got here and they were pitching me the same way that they were pitching me in Kane County, I was already used to it. But now I didn't have to worry about trying to hit the ball to left field, center field, or right field. I could hit it anywhere and it'll travel. So it was easier for me to just hit the ground running here, because it was like when the wind's blowing out in the Midwest League, I had great games because I didn't have to worry about, okay, I hit the ball to right field, it's going to die. Hit the center field, it's just going to blow back in. So those are my best games when I was just thinking about just hit the ball hard and no carry. And that's how I feel about this league.
Cool. And one thing that's notable about that for you is that you do have 21 home runs on the season between Kane County and Visalia. That's a pretty strong number for anybody in the minor leagues, but especially for a shortstop, a guy listed at 5'11", 165. Last year, before an injury, you only hit 1 home run with Kane County. What do you feel like has attributed to this kind of power jump for you? And, how sustainable do you feel like it is now? Do you feel like you could be a 20 home run hitter year in, year out with some of the changes you've made this year, the way you've kind of grown into your power?
Yeah, I feel like the changes from last year and this year, I always had the power I had from my first year, but I just feel like now I'm more consistent with it because I'm taking a lot of the same swings instead of like seeing an off-speed pitch and like just trying to tap it somewhere and try to use my speed to beat it out on the floor. Now I actually like to really swing as hard as I can at the off-speed, really. Just like how I swing at the fastball, I swing at the off-speed now. So that's where I feel like my consistent power came in. Like I'd say, more of my home runs this year, more than half of my home runs are off-speed this year.
And
so,
well, just to go back to what you were saying about swinging hard and swinging consistently in that way, is that something the D-backs kind of addressed with you personally in terms of allowing you to tap into that power? Because a lot of scouting reports I've read about you have said like that power will come eventually, but it seems to have come even quicker. So was that something they were working on with you in the spring, going back last year to extended, something like that? Or how did that swing path develop?
Actually, my first year in Missoula, I hit 9 home runs in the half season.
Right.
In the short season.
Right.
And I came to spring training the next year, and they're telling me, like, hey, we need you to, like, have a more relaxed and calm swing. Your home runs will come later, but we just need you to get hits right now. And then that spring training, I had 7 to 8 home runs going into the season last year. So last year I went into the season, I played 23 games or so and hit 1 home run. And it was because I was trying to do what they told me to do, stay relaxed, the home runs will come later. And then this year I was just like, I was telling myself, like, when I'm relaxed and try to just hit base hits, I normally like roll over or something. But when I try to have my normal swing, stay smooth to the zone, swing a little bit aggressive, that's when I start hitting line drives, and the line drives become home runs. Instead of just trying to hit a tapper that just doesn't go in the gap,
Mm-hmm.
So really, it was just me thinking about hitting the ball hard somewhere, hitting a line drive hard, and they just eventually go out of the park.
Right, and I feel like at the lower levels, especially, and you kind of tapped into this a little bit, it feels like normally organizations try to bring up a certain hitting philosophy to younger prospects, but it sounds like you've allowed to kind of take over and use your own strengths. How was that conversation, or how did that conversation go? How willing were they to kind of let you be yourself once you were able to show, this is what I'm able to do when I am able to swing with as much power as I can get?
Well, when they really seen that what I was doing this year, most of what they really wanted me to do is stay in control of the aggression. So I don't like swing and spin a little bit. Like sometimes I'd spin off a lot and hit a foul ball home run or something. And instead of that, to keep it fair. So before I got to the Cal League, we had the conversation, and he was like, I just want you to stay in control of the aggression, stay balanced with it. And as soon as that happened, I came to the Cal League, and it's worked really well. So like they gave me they told me, yeah, you can stay aggressive, but we want you to stay control aggressive, and it worked really well for me.
All right, very cool. And we've talked a little bit about it, or we have alluded to it anyways. Last year, when you were at Kane County, you only got 29 games in, and then you suffered a torn right meniscus. It seemed like you were getting hot just at the end there, just in May, before you suffered the injury. What was it like to kind of go through that, just when it feels like you were starting to pick up things? And, what was the rehab process like for that? We know so much about the rehab process for elbows now and other ACLs, that type of thing, but you go through a right meniscus, that's really tough, especially for a shortstop like yourself. How long did the rehab process how long did that take before you were able to come back?
It was probably one of the worst experiences of my life, because I love baseball, and just not being able to play baseball for 5 months was just the worst ever for me. So just going through the rehab process, trying to stay strong, trying to stay mentally strong, it was just like hard for me to just stay there, and do it. But I did it. I lasted through it and worked hard every day, trying to get back on the field earlier than I'm supposed to get back on the field. And that's just how it worked out for me, because I was just pushing hard every day. Like, I started running. It was supposed to be a 6-month progress, but I worked hard every day to make it a five-month progress to be back and go to instructs,
Yeah, I was going to ask, the injury happened, or you played your last game there anyways in May. If you're saying it took 5 months, I guess that puts it at October. When did it really feel like you were fully formed back and really ready to be the shortstop you could be?
Well, I came back in October, early October, and played, practiced with the guys a little bit in the instructional league. And then I went to Dominican Instructional League to play some games. I played 7 games there, had 7 home runs, and played a little bit of shortstop, And I feel like that's when it clicked. Like, man, I'm ready. I'm ready to go back out there, and I'm gonna be the best one out there.
Cool. And one thing we got to talk to you about, because I think you're the first Bahamas native that we've had on the show, so I did want to bring this up at least. There's a really good story that went up on The Athletic about your kind of background in the Bahamas, how you got noticed and all that kind of stuff, but and how you came over to the States for a little while, went back to the Bahamas, got signed by the D-backs out of the Bahamas. What was it like coming up in that environment? Because I think a lot of people don't know that many athletes from the Bahamas. You look it up on Google, it's mostly sprinters. There have been 6 major leaguers. I think the last one was Anton Richardson, played a little bit for the Yankees and a little bit in the Dodger system. But what was it like coming up as a baseball player in that country?
It was kind of fun. We traveled a lot for a lot of things. Like you would never know, but we played in me, Lucius Fox, and Chavez Young have all played in the Cal Ripken Little League World Series in 2010, and we won it. So, like, everybody that I played baseball with, probably 200 to 300 kids I know from playing baseball and became friends with. And playing baseball back home was just so much fun because it was just, you go to the field, you'll probably play a game, like an actual Little League organized game. And then after that, you'll go on like a smaller field and you have to hit from the other side, from the switch side, and play around, And that's how everybody became friends down there, playing in that little pickup sandlot game. And, I mean, it was a lot of fun for us because everybody who played baseball ran track and field. So, like, everybody would go from the tracks straight to the baseball field. After the baseball game, we played a pickup sandlot game with, like, 12 kids on the field, one person hitting, and have fun with that. The parents are still watching you, having fun, no umpires, just you guys playing by yourself. It was a lot of fun, man. And the coaches always pushed us to be great. So when I came back home and my same coach was there, Jerron Sands, he always had my back and he always talked to me about everything. He's the guy that I call when I'm struggling. And so I was talking to him because he was the one who brought me to the baseball field around 5 years old. Well, he was my coach around 5 years old. He didn't bring me there. My grandma brought me to the baseball field. But 5 years old, he had me. So I was talking to him, and he was like, yeah, come to the academy. I'll be fine. We went to the academy. Lucius was there. And we had a big showcase with probably 15 to 20 scouts or so. And they got to see us play. I guess they liked what they seen. And that's what got me to where I'm at today, because playing baseball in the Bahamas isn't really easy. But when you finally made it out, I mean, it's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, and you talked about your decision to go back. Being paired with Lucius Fox, that certainly helps that there's two of you guys that scouts can kind of show off. But take me through that decision to move back to the Bahamas, because according to this story, you moved to Kansas to play baseball, basically. And if you had stayed there long enough, maybe you could have been drafted. But instead, by going back to the Bahamas, you can sign with whatever team gives you the most money or whatever situation is best for you. What went into that decision to go back and kind of open up that signing process?
So I was in Kansas, and I was about to graduate in December. I was an early graduate that December that I was going back to, December 2014, so I've been 16. But the host family situation was really messed up, and I was telling my parents about it, and they're like, well, we got to try and find you a new school to go to. And then my coach was telling them, like, we got a baseball academy. He'll still graduate in December with the program that we have at the baseball academy, and we'll see how it works out. He'll either get into college or he'll become a professional baseball player. Depends on how many scouts knows him, So I knew a couple scouts knew who I was playing in Kansas. I played in a summer ball league, and I played in an annual event that summer, the summer of 2014. I played in the annual event that goes on at the Wichita Wingnut Stadium. It's a lot of college and professional teams, I think, and indie ball teams. Really can't remember the name, but I know I was the youngest person there. I was only 16 years old while I was there. And I went back home and I started training, and I seen that Lucius went back. Well, when I met him at home, did not know he was home. it would have been good to know because we talked to each other every day, but he didn't tell me he was going home.
Yeah.
We were on the same flight home, and I was asking him, like, hey, it's September, dude. What are you doing going home? And he's like, yeah, it was a messed up, something messed up at American Heritage, and I was like, all right. Well, I told him what I was doing, and he was like, actually, that's what I came to do too, to train with the coaches that we grew up with. And Anton Richardson was one of the coaches. Albert Cartwright, who just retired last year, was one of the coaches. So we really had a good training system. And I actually did graduate high school in 2014 of December. And they asked me if I wanted to go in the draft or if I just wanted to sign international, you know. And I always told them, like, hey, I want to go on the draft because it was just my dream to go on the draft. And they told me, and then MLB said that I'm international. So I went in the international signing market and I signed international.
Yeah, and given that path, the way it all worked out, and with the way you came back and still got signed and everything like that, if you could go back, would you have stayed at home the whole time instead of going to Kansas, or do you feel like that was, instrumental in developing you into the ball player you are now?
I feel like me going to Kansas was the best thing for me. Running up, like, we used to run in the snow behind our coach's car for our conditioning. I feel like that grew me into the guy that I am today. It kept me mentally tough, you know. And then going back home was just the skills came from going back home. But to get me to the guy that I am today, being able to live by myself basically from the age of like 12, 13 to 15, 16 helps me to be the guy that I am today. You know?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And just going back to that 2010 team, that 12U team that won the Cal Ripken Little League World Series, now the kind of general Little League World Series is about to happen in Williamsport. I know they're separate events, but I know, in the States, a team wins in a local region, people talk about it for decades afterwards. What kind of impact did you guys have winning on that international stage at that 2010 tournament do you think, for, baseball in the Bahamas?
I felt like it did a lot because people are still talking about it now. In the Little League, everybody still wants to do it. We have a team there right now playing in the Little League World Series. In the Cal Ripken Little League World Series, we have them playing right now. And the guys are really pumped to be the second team ever to win a World Series from the Bahamas. And everybody's like, they want to be the guys from that team to win because they see where we go afterwards. Like, most of the guys on that team are in college, playing college baseball, so it really gives them a chance to believe in a lot. And 3 of us are professionals and the rest are college baseball players. Well, 4 of us were professionals, and 1 got released not too long ago, but other than that, it really helps, to build up your confidence to say, I'm a Little League World Series champion.
Yeah, I bet. We'll leave it off on that then, on that really optimistic note. Jazz Chisholm, thanks so much for joining us from Visalia, or from playing with the Visalia Rawhide. Good luck the rest of the way over there in the California League, and good luck on entering the off season fully healthy and ready to attack a fuller off season this time.
Thank you.
We skip ahead a little over a year from August of 2018 when we talked to Jazz Chisholm to November of 2019, and we actually got a chance to have an on-field interview. Essentially, it was actually an in-dugout tunnel interview with a guy after a game in November of 2019, and it was not an Arizona Fall League game. Alec Bohm, who was at that time on his way up with the Philadelphia Phillies, Alec Bohm was taking part in the WBSC Premier 12 tournament and was a member of USA Baseball's roster for that squad. I, on a personal note, am forever grateful to Alec Bohm for giving me this interview, because I had been completely big leagued by another highly ranked prospect on that day. I was looking to get an interview. We won't name any names, but I was looking to get an interview with another very highly touted prospect on that USA Baseball squad. Asked him as he walked by me in the same dugout tunnel for an interview, and he did not look at me, stared straight ahead, and blew by and walked off to wherever he was headed for the rest of the day. Alec Bohm came out of the tunnel, and I thought, well, Alec Bohm would be pretty great to talk to as well. Could not have been more gracious, could not have been cooler, and it was neat to get a chance to chat with him. Alec Bohm, who made his major league debut after signing with the Phillies as a draft pick, the 3rd overall, taken in 2018. Signed with the Phils, made his professional debut later on that year, played at 3 different stops, a couple of different rookie-level Gulf Coast League stops, and then 29 games with then Class A short season Williamsport. Big league debut came in 2020. 2021, he was entrenched as a major league regular and now has become one of the household names for the Phillies here in 2024 and over the last few seasons. And Alec Bohm was kind enough to join me for a conversation at the Tokyo Dome as he wore the Stars and Stripes of USA Baseball. Like I said, got a chance to talk to Alec after today's 3-2 victory for the United States over Chinese Taipei. He has been the primary third baseman on this team. He swung a pretty good bat, had some mammoth home runs when the United States advanced from the opening round in Guadalajara, Mexico, to get here to the Super Round in Tokyo, and started off by asking him about that big Brent Rooker home run to keep the U.S. alive for both medal hopes and Olympic hopes in Premier 12 today.
It's exciting. He got all of it, and anytime like a guy like him's up, just every time he swings, you know he's close to putting one over the fence. So I knew he got a good pitch to hit. I think it was his third at bat. That guy wasn't gonna get him 3 times.
The offense as a whole, in Guadalajara and here, the dynamic of the ballpark is so different. Going through lineup changes, all that type of stuff. You guys obviously know how much talent you've got 1 through 9, but the game against Australia, frustrating. Today, for the most part, frustrating. What's the conversation like to keep everybody up in the dugout? Obviously Eric is so big with that and some of the voices that you've got, but what have you guys been talking about?
There's never any panic. We're always one swing away. Just string together a couple at bats, and just like that, we can put up 5 in an inning, because up and down, we got a whole bunch of guys that hit 3, 4, lead off, 2, whatever, throughout the whole season. Guys in the 9 hole that hit 300 all year. So it's a deep lineup. So there's never with me. I never have any panic. I know if I don't get it done, a good chance the next guy's going to get hit. So there's a lot of talent.
Take me through the selection process for you. When you found out that USA Baseball was interested in you, and you kind of weigh the whole, do I want to go, Tokyo is November and all that type of stuff. How did this whole thing come together for you?
It's a no-brainer. For me, they asked if I wanted to do it, and I couldn't say yes fast enough. So anytime you get to represent the country, put on the USA jersey, it's special.
The fall, the process, you get done with the regular season, you come into the fall, and you're obviously staying in that game mindset. Especially when the regular season ends, how do you kind of shut down for a little while and rest and recharge briefly, knowing that you're going to get right back into games pretty soon?
Yeah, for me it was a little different for a couple of us. We just went right to the fall league, kept playing. So for us,
I guess it's true that it was the next week.
Yeah, I think me, Joe, a couple other guys, Ponce, Penn. We were pretty fresh. We've been working, playing, so we're in game shape. But for the other guys, I'm not sure what they did. But I'm sure they kept working out, kept hitting, kept throwing, stayed loose, and we got together for that camp and played about 5 scrimmages, exhibitions, 4 or 5, and got ready to go.
So did you basically go straight from the end of the regular season, just go straight to Arizona?
Yeah, I had about a week off, and so we went from the playoffs, had a week off, and then started playing in the fall league.
Tell me about the fall league experience. It's such a, it's like you're on an all-star team every day, which probably helps get used to something like that for something like this also. But what was that like going down there and being around so many guys who are super talented and the excitement and the fun that you guys all have in the
It was a lot like this. Yeah, I don't know, but we had was a bunch of guys. I mean, every game, it was like an all-star game, like you said. You know, you face one guy, and then he starts the game. Next at bat, you're facing another guy that's really good. You know, next, so on, and so I mean, you're getting 4 or 5 at bats a day against guys that got really good stuff, and it's a challenge, but it's a lot of fun.
When you go down there for something like that, do the Phillies give you specific stuff they want you to work on, or are you just down there getting more at bats, more innings, that kind of stuff?
I mean, for us, it was just keep playing and go out there and do what you know how to do, but continue to get the reps and face good competition and get ready to get a taste of what the next level's like. And the more you see the high velo, the good off speed, the polished pitcher, the good stuff. Obviously the better you get. You get into camp, into this U.S. camp, and there are so many different types of guys, so many different types of careers. Obviously, the prospect status for so many of you guys and how exciting that is. But you've also got, Brandon Dixon's been over in Japan playing for 7 years. Brooks Pounder's in the big leagues last year. He's the only returning guy from this team 4 years ago. To get a mix of guys like that together is so different from what you had in the fall league. What has that been like with the way this group is meshed? It's a really cool, dynamic because, like you said, you come in the locker room and you see, a guy like Eric Kratz, who's, obviously had a long, good career. And then, you got guys like Dixon who've been over here, and we're all asking, we get over to Japan, we're all asking Dixon questions about, where to go, what to do. And then, we got guys that are 20, guys that are, middle 20s, guys that are 30s. So, I mean, it's a really cool dynamic. And, there's a lot of picking brains going on, talking to older guys that have been around, guys that have been in the big leagues, and, a lot of storytelling, a lot of, just trying to learn from these guys.
That game against Japan a few nights ago, you guys come away with a 4-3 win. There's 35,000 people here. They're jumping up and down and chanting and singing and doing stuff that, playing in the minors, you're not going to see a 35,000 strong crowd. A lot of nights in the big leagues, you probably won't see a 35. That experience to be, lined up on the baseline, hear your national anthem, take the field, play in a game like that. What was that like?
I mean, it's a great honor, but I mean, for me, hands down, that was the coolest game I ever played in. In an atmosphere like this, and never played in a dome. Being in a dome, and just the crowd. They're all 9 innings. They didn't. I feel like they didn't sit down. They were into it the whole game. It was something I'd never seen before, and it was really cool.
You guys, when you're the quote unquote villain in a scenario like that, you're playing the home team, and you've got an entire stadium like that is 99% against you. Obviously, you got your friends and family right behind the plate, but being in that dugout, what is that experience like for you guys as a group, knowing that you're hanging on, you got a 1-run lead late, you end up closing it out, but that brotherhood kind of feeling in an atmosphere like that, I would think has got to be pretty special.
Yeah, it was. I mean, like I said, it was the coolest thing I've ever been a part of. Everybody is locked into every pitch, and it felt like, the game was over like that, because it was just like you were just like kind of in that different zone, and it was something special.
A couple more for you, I'll get you out of here. The off season coming up, what are the things you're most excited about? You finally get a chance to shut down for a little while and get to go home. What are the things you're most excited about when this is over and you get to relax for a little bit?
Man, I think I'm gonna sleep for 2 days straight. I'm gonna go home, see my family, see my friends. Take a couple weeks off and just relax and hit the reset button, and then it's gonna be a short off season. So I'm after a couple weeks, we get back into it, start lifting, start working out, trying to get strong, and get my body ready for another 160 games.
Last thing, you go into next year, what are the things that you're most focused on in 2020 you want to accomplish, you want to get better at? I mean, obviously it's always a little bit of everything, but is there anything that you're really focused on next year?
I think I want to take the same approach I took in the last off season. I did a lot of just trying to try to do a lot of things to keep my body ready to play the whole season. I had the injury in my first half season, so I wanted to make sure, like, obviously that was a freak thing, but it kind of opened my eyes to I want to be on the field every day, and so I did a lot of things, try to keep myself in a good shape and make sure that I was available every day.
Congrats on this one, and best of luck the rest of the way, man.
Appreciate it.
We had some really good interviews toward the end of 2019. We've actually, on the Show Before the Show podcast, There are no misses, let's be honest. Am I right? But the month after, we got a chance to talk with Alec Bohm, who, by the way, was listed in the USA Baseball Pronunciation Guide at that time as Bohm, not Bohm. So if you look back at any broadcast from that Premier 12 tournament, and even if you look back at like Alec Bohm's early years in the minor leagues and in college at Wichita State, we were all saying his name wrong. And Alec, I have long wanted to apologize to you for that. And I'm sure as a loyal listener of the show before the show, you will undoubtedly hear it. But the following month, we talked to Alec in November of 2019. In December of 2019, we got a chance to catch up with a guy who really at that time was kind of starting to round into his own as a prospect to really, really watch. And that is the now cult hero favorite of Detroit Tigers fans, the left-hander Tarik Skubal, who joined us after being selected in the 9th round in the 2018 draft from Seattle University. Not exactly a baseball powerhouse known for producing all kinds of big league talent, but a guy who was coming off of a terrific season between a couple of stops in the Tigers organization at high A and double A, but of a 2.42 ERA between Lakeland in the Florida State League and Erie in the Eastern League. Tarik Skubal, I remember this being such a fun conversation, and we bring it to you on this week's Clip Show episode of the show before the show. The 4th-ranked prospect in the Detroit Tigers system joins us on this week's episode of the show before the show, the final one before the end of 2019. Tarik Skubal, who jumped into the Tigers system in 2018 in the 9th round out of Seattle University and rocketed through his first full professional season this year with Class A Advanced Lakeland and Double A Erie. How's the offseason going, man? Thanks for joining us. What's been going on?
Yeah, thanks for having me. The off-season's been good. Just settling into a house and doing a little remodel stuff, and that's pretty much it.
So this first full pro season for you, I would imagine when you look back, probably feels like a whirlwind. You were in short season ball last year in both the GCL and the New York Penn League in your draft year, made it up to the Midwest League and got a few games in with West Michigan. But this year you go wire to wire, 24 starts, and the numbers from those 24 starts with Lakeland and Erie, like if you're looking at Tarik's MILB.com page, you probably think like, did somebody put these in wrong? Because they're like that good. A 6-8 record, a 2.42 ERA, 179 strikeouts, and 122 and 2/3 innings. When you look back on this year, what does it feel like to have that first full season under your belt and have it be a season like this?
It's awesome, just from a confidence standpoint too, being confident out there and being consistent every game and start to start, trying to be as consistent as you can. And then obviously once you see success, the confidence starts to grow. So it was huge for me to start my career like that.
When you got into pro ball, you get drafted in 2017 in the 29th round by the D-backs. You go back to school at Seattle U, and the Tigers come for you in the 9th round. And that first season, we talk so much to college guys about how long that season can be. When you get into your draft year, you get sent off to your first pro stops, and you're playing really a season from January and February in your college year all the way through August into September. For you especially, coming off of Tommy John surgery that took out your 2017 and a lot of your 2016, that must have been exhausting. And obviously the Tigers very much were mindful of that. You only go out for 9 games in that debut season. But to have that first year under your belt, what was the summer of 2018 like, kind of getting acclimated to pro ball and being healthy again and all of that really all at the same time?
It was good to just kind of establish a routine and take care of the body, because you are playing for a very long time and you are away from home for a very long time too. So it was good just to establish a routine and start taking care of my body, whether it be from January through September or a season of like April through then. So.
And whether it was that year or this year, especially because, you really hit the ground running, only giving up 2 earned runs in your first 3 starts. But at what point did you feel like, okay, this is really going to work for me? I'm not just an average 9th rounder. I'm going to be somebody who can climb up this Tiger system and really find that consistent level of success that you've found so far in your career.
I'm just very confident in my ability and confident in how I carry myself. And I know what I bring to the plate. I know when I toe the rubber, I kind of just really believe in myself and I trust what I'm trying to do. And I try and just pitch to my strength. So I don't really necessarily think, where I'm going to start or where I want to climb, but it's more of just being confident in myself and pitching to my strength and just kind of controlling how much effort I put into things. And that's that's what my focus is on.
And when you look back at what Tyler mentioned, the Tommy John surgery knocked you out for a lot of 2016, all of 2017 at Seattle. Arizona comes calling, and you decide to go back for one more year. Going back to what that spring was like with, your eventual final draft year with Seattle to where you are now as a pitcher, trying to build yourself back up to a healthy standpoint, but also a successful standpoint. I know you struggled a little bit with control in that spring of 2018, but what has allowed you to grow to where you are now? How do you think you've changed the most as a pitcher?
I think it was just mentally. I struggled a lot in college when I was coming back. I was just trying to do too much and just not being myself on the mound, just trying to be a perfectionist, which I think there's a time and place for trying to be perfect and executing pitches, but just being really hard on myself. And I was out of the game for like a year and a half, just not competing in a college environment, and that just took some time to get adjusted. It felt like I was a freshman all over again, trying to control like the anxiety that comes and control your breathing and all that stuff. But getting back into it and just a longer time I was out there on the mound and pitching, I think that was huge for me. And then just staying healthy as well.
And when you did enter the Tigers system, obviously the results have been here, but what have you latched onto in terms of their pitching philosophy or their pitching development that you believe has helped you take off in this way as well?
They've always just put me in a position to have success. I've been pretty open with them in terms of what I'm doing, and they've always put me in places to have success and build confidence that way. So, that's huge. That's a huge part to me.
Tarik, that system right now is so loaded with pitching prospect, and you right now are the third-ranked prospect in the organization and the fourth-ranked prospect overall. Casey Mize at number 1, Matt Manning at number 2. But even the rest of the top 10, Franklin Perez is at number 6, Alex Fido is at number 9, Joey Wentz is at number 10. Some guys who I know scuffled a little bit in AAA this year, Bo Burrows and Kyle Funkhauser are still in there. It's a system that has such good depth at your position from both lefties and righties right now. To be, and obviously this is more of a kind of spring training question, but even a question of just being in the same clubhouse as some of these guys as you were with Casey last year and Matt. What is it like being with a group that's so deep at your spot? It's one thing to be a talented and ranked prospect. You got so many other guys who are making that climb with you who are so talented at that same position. What has that been like for you?
Yeah, it's awesome to be around those guys and those guys that are extremely gifted and extremely talented and watch how those guys work. I think creating that environment where everyone's competing with each other, that's, iron sharpens iron, you know what I'm saying? So, being around those guys and trying to learn from what they're trying to do or see how they're having success and understanding how you can apply that to your game or understanding that you're different than these guys. You pitch differently and understanding that, but also understanding what they're doing in certain situations and the experience that they have and the knowledge that they have and that everybody's willing to kind of help each other out, which I think is very unique. But yeah, I feel like everyone wants everyone to have success, whether it be me, Casey, Faedo, Manning, Wentz, the list goes on of the guys that I've played with. So it doesn't matter. I feel like everybody wants each other to succeed and play well with each other.
How much is the conversation about, one of the things that I think is always coolest to hear about from pitchers is when you learn something from another guy, the famous story, obviously, of Mariano Rivera teaching Roy Halladay his cutter and that kind of thing. What do you like learning from other guys, and what do other guys come to you to try to learn about what you do?
I like to learn as much as I can from everybody, whether it be how somebody takes care of their body or certain pitch grips or something like that. I learned my slider, / cutter thing from Adam Wolf. I was like, hey man, I know you throw a cutter. I did my research on him coming into the draft, and we were with each other in Connecticut. And I was like, hey man, how do you grip that? I got to learn that pitch because that's something I'm trying to add. And he showed me it, and I was like, all right. And then the next, I think I had an outing 2 days later, and I was like, I might as well try it out right now. And ever since then, I've thrown it a lot, no matter what situation I'm in. It's been an important pitch for me. So, that's something huge just in terms of asking something so simple as a pitch grip, but also Manning's got the big power curveball, and that's something that I'm trying to add into my pitch repertoire, and he's been very helpful to me with all that stuff.
And while we're talking about repertoires and arsenals and pitches you have going for you, what do you feel like was most effective in generating the amount of strikeouts you got? Because Tyler mentioned how many strikeouts you had on the year, but just to read out for people who don't know your body of work, your first 6 starts with Erie. You got 11 strikeouts, 10 strikeouts, 13 strikeouts, down to 6, and then back-to-back 10 strikeouts again. You were getting whiffs the second you got to Double-A, which is a big jump going from the FSL to Erie. How were you able to get guys swinging and missing that consistently? What about your pitches changed this year that allowed that to happen?
I felt like I was just very aggressive and competitive in the strike zone and just kind of let my stuff play over the plate. And I wasn't going to back down from a hitter. And I felt like I was always getting strike one. And then after strike one, getting strike two. And then that's a situation where you can do a lot of things. You can expand off the plate. You can expand up in the zone. You can do a lot of different things. And you can get away with mistakes sometimes too when you're ahead in the count, just based on what the hitter is trying to do or what they're trying not to do, which is strike out. So I think that was just huge to me, is just getting ahead and getting that first pitch strike and then working from there.
And I know control, we mentioned it before too, that final year at Seattle, it seemed like the control wasn't fully there. And I know you mentioned a little bit of what went into that and trying to be too fine, but I know control is something that takes a while to come back after Tommy John surgery. Sometimes guys have it, but sometimes it's a process getting back. What allowed you to get it back eventually? And, what was that process like coming back from major elbow surgery to the point where you felt like you could finally spot the ball again?
It was just time. I think I just wasn't ready, physically I felt like I was ready, but mentally, and then just kind of feeling myself down the mound again. I think that's just time that, that's a big part of just being away from the game. I mean, I know you can watch it and all that stuff, but there's a lot different when you're on the mound and there's a hitter in the box and your job is to get him out. So I think it was just time. And then the more time and the more confident I got in myself, and then just really feeling myself down the mound and feeling how everything felt. And then obviously from the surgery, it taught me how to really take care of myself and try to stay as healthy as possible for the rest of my career.
And, as we mentioned, you were taken in the 29th round as you were basically recovering from Tommy John surgery, trying to build yourself up again, hadn't pitched that year. What pitcher do you think you would be had you decided to sign, and how close are you actually signing with the D-backs at that point?
I always wanted to go back to school. I thought my sophomore year we had an extremely talented group of players, and I thought that we could make a run and win a WAC championship and make a run in the postseason, just because we were kind of a dangerous team and we were pretty stacked with talent from the arm standpoint, and we could swing it. So when I went down my sophomore year, I always felt like there was just a little bit of unfinished business, and I felt like I owed it to my team and all my brothers that I played with up there. And I felt like I needed to come back and try and win a WAC championship, because that's something that I've always wanted to do, is to win a championship and make a run in the postseason, because you never know what can happen in college baseball. So that's kind of where I was at mentally.
You also put your name in the record books at Seattle across all kinds of different categories, and your strikeout numbers obviously stand out, maybe most among those, but in wins and one of the lowest ERAs in school history and all that. To look back on your time there and the fact that it was, kind of up and down just in terms of the health, and still know that you put that body of work together, being a little bit removed from that now, what does that feel like? I mean, there's very likely, 10 years down the road, 15, 25, however long, you're going to be one of the guys that gets honored at an alumni day, or, there's a Tarik Skubal day for the Red Hawks as they have a home series. I mean, that's got to be something pretty amazing, even despite the fact that you missed an entire season with Tommy John surgery.
I try not to think about that too much. Those guys gave me an opportunity to play Division I baseball, and the coaching staff up there believed in me. My teammates believed in me. And then I think that's more important, is I only had one Division I offer, and they gave it to me, and I took it, and they believed in me from day one. And they do a great job up there. They care about every single athlete that comes in, every single baseball player that comes in. They really care about them. they gave me the foundation to try and work hard and make the best of my situation. So, I mean, I've got a lot of respect for the coaching staff up there.
What is the reaction like from the guys that you played with there, your coaches there, Red Hawks fans, and even, going back to high school and the people who watched you grow up, to see where you are right now, being a guy who they got to cheer for in school, they got to know, a 9th-round pick, and now all of a sudden you're a top 100 prospect in baseball. What's it like having their support as you get now to the upper minor leagues in your career and just your second season in pro ball?
It's huge to have the support of the city I'm from and the coaches that I played with and even the teammates. I mean, I feel like that's a huge part. I bonded a lot with the players up there, and they still support me and reach out and text me. And I think that's really awesome because this game can beat you up sometimes. And it's important to have that support system around you and a good foundation to kind of go and pursue my dream.
All right, Tarik, speaking of all the changes that have happened here and, now that we are in your second off season, essentially, how is this different for you? Is it different for you at all? Knowing that you come off a full season of success, 100+ innings, trying to prep for even more than that going into next year, looking back on where you were last December, how does that compare to where you are now?
I feel a lot more comfortable in what is expected of me and what I expect of myself. So now it's just taking care of my body and trying to get as strong as I can, so that way I can put up with a full season of work and be able to go every 5th day and give it the best that I got. So that's kind of my focus right now, is just getting as strong, getting healthy, and that's pretty much just the goal right now.
And we have you on for what's essentially our last show of 2019. So we're looking a lot forward, to 2020 and taking those next steps and starting to look at spring training here coming up. But when you look at 2020, I don't know if you're a big resolutions guy, but if you had any goal for the next year as you enter your second year of pro ball, what is the main goal outside of, just staying healthy?
Just to go have fun. Just go have fun and enjoy it, and enjoy the however many games I play, however many starts I make, and enjoy all the stuff that is around. I mean, what I'm doing. I think that's important, is just to go have fun and enjoy what you're doing and enjoy going to the baseball field every day.
Pretty cool stuff. Tarik Skubal is the 4th-ranked prospect in the Tigers organization, number 74 overall in baseball. You can follow him on Twitter at Tarik Skubal there. And, man, congrats on all the success, and enjoy the holidays, and best of luck heading into 2020. We'll be following.
Yeah, same goes for you. Thank you, guys.
All right, the next ones I'm going to preface by saying, honestly, they're not the easiest to listen to because of the time frame in which we recorded them. And you can tell by now that we're going chronologically from the start of the Show Before the Show podcast to where we are currently. And the next two conversations are with two amazing prospects who have become two amazing big leaguers, but they come to us from June of 2020, when there was so much unsettled, not just in the world at large, but of course in the baseball world as well. We did not have a minor league season that year. Didn't know if minor league players were going to get any action at all. Later on, of course, as Major League Baseball returned during that pandemic summer, we had the alternate sites and everything else that went along with those. I hope we never have to hear the term alternate site again in our lives. That's a chapter of everything that I think we would all like to forget in so many ways, and especially as it pertains to losing out on an entire season of minor league baseball. But we did get a chance to talk to some of the best talent in minor league baseball at that time. We, of course, had some great conversations with Tyler Stevenson of the Cincinnati Reds, Julio Rodriguez of the Seattle Mariners. We also, in June of 2020, caught up with Adley Rutschman, who was the top overall draft pick in the previous year's draft in 2019. And Adley was kind enough to join us as we were all waiting for word of what was going to be going on in the baseball world in 2020. To the Baltimore Orioles organization we go, and the 4th-ranked prospect in all of baseball, the top overall selection in the June 2019 Major League Baseball first-year player draft, and a guy whose name I'm sure all of you are very familiar with, who needs no introduction, yet I gave him a lengthy one. Adley Rutschman joins us from the Baltimore Orioles. Adley, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. How about you?
We're good. Thanks for coming on with us. So one of our 5 nationwide Road to the Show ambassadors, a guy who jumped into pro ball last year, obviously made a real quick impact, and now a very strange first full season, quote-unquote, full season in baseball in 2020. But circumstances beyond all of our controls have made things very weird in terms of trying to get sports back. But we have some optimism on that front, it seems like. What have the last couple of months been like for you, trying to stay ready and just keep engaged at this point?
Yeah, it's been weird for sure. All the gyms being closed down. We had to basically create a home gym in our garage. So we moved out all the cars, got some weight room equipment. And so we've just been trying to get as much work in there as we can, and just been hitting in a cage basically for the last couple of months. And finally, we've been able to see some live pitching with local guys around the Portland area. So it's been good. But definitely tough for sure.
Let's go back a couple months to when things felt a little bit more normal in terms of a sports context. Spring training comes around. Your first one as a professional ball player. Take us through those first few weeks and kind of getting set for what would have been, your first full season in a professional organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being in big league camp was really eye-opening for me. It provided just a lot of opportunities for me to learn from older guys and guys who had been around. A lot of them, fortunately, took me under their wing, and I was just able to really learn from them and kind of get a sense of, what their daily routine was like, and just try and emulate everything after them. I know, from there, I went to minor league camp for a couple days and was getting ready in the next couple weeks to head off to, full season. But just I think those first couple of weeks were really crucial for me as far as, my learning curve went, and just, getting accustomed to, everyday life.
Yeah, and what's something you took away from that you are able to carry into your day-to-day now, whether it's working in the cage, working defensively, weight training, even in that brief time in Major League camp, what's something you still lean on from that time?
I think for me, it's creating good habits on a day-to-day basis and establishing a routine that works for you. Each one of those guys had a routine that they were very set in, and they stuck with it. And for them, that kept them on track and put them in a position of where they needed to be and helped them feel prepared at the time they were at. And I think for me, it was just, they helped me kind of establish my routine when I was there, so that I felt comfortable and I felt good in what I was doing on an everyday basis. So, and I think that's the consistency in that really helped out.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are a lot of O's fans and a lot of young kids at home listening to this and wondering, what's the routine that's going to work for me? So what is the Adley Rutschman routine? What have you found that works for you and gets you into a place where you can be as successful as you have been?
For me, it's, I wake up and I think, starting my day off with a meditation and just, visualizing what I want to do for the day, gets me mentally prepared. And then just showing up to the field, you're going to create a different routine for spring training than you do for, once you get into full season, and, different routine when you are on a travel day. So for me, during spring training, we get to the field around, it'd be 7:15, 7:30 in the morning. And then from there, just go to the training room, hop in the cold tub, roll out, stretch out, get ready for early work with catching. And then from there, we kind of get into our stretch and routine. But just the little things like that, making sure you feel good every single morning kind of gets you in that good mindset for the day, and you feel, prepared. But, obviously, like I said, once, the full season starts, then it becomes different. And, you got to create those different routines for travel days and whatnot.
And we've talked about spring training here as if it's your first and you have to go through a lot of that. It's a big learning process, but I'm sure it's a little different for you being somebody who's the #1 overall pick. Everybody in Sarasota knows who you are, whether it's fans in the stands, whether it's trainers, coaches, whatever. Anytime you walk in the room, people understand who you are. What was it like balancing that, kind of the expectations with also the educational aspect of it?
I mean, the thing is, for me, I was fortunate enough to, be in a big league clubhouse where no one really, cared about that as much. And I think guys, everyone treated me normally, and the same with the trainers. And I'd never want to think of myself as, having any sort of, special, having a special situation. I would never want to think of having myself like be, in front of anyone as far as, a position. I'm always in a position to where I want to learn. I'm trying to put myself in a, that learning mindset, and just being around guys who want to, be there to help me out and to just be in that mindset. So, I don't know. I think it made it a lot easier for me, just being in a learning mindset and always just trying to have as much humility as I can. 'Cause, if you walk around like, you think you've done something, then, I just never want ego to be something that gets in my way of my learning.
Adley, let's take it back to last year. You're the first overall draft selection in baseball. It's such a different thing because you're in the process of trying to lead one of the best programs in baseball to a College World Series title and all that, and going through draft preparations and those things as that's all going along. And then you sign and you're into pro ball pretty quickly, and you climb through 3 levels, starting off at rookie ball in the GCL, and then making the jump up to Aberdeen first, a Class A short season, then finishing with Delmarva. When you got to the end of last September, let's say, how do you even begin to process the previous 9 months? I mean, you go in your final year of college, play a long season there, get into the draft, first overall pick, sign a contract, jump into pro ball, go through 3 levels. Like, were you just exhausted? How did you feel at the end of last season?
It was definitely a long year. Going from college to pro ball is especially tough because there's no off season. You got fall ball, winter ball, and then spring season, and then the draft, and you go to your short season. So it's definitely a full year with a lot of emotions. So definitely to get to that first off season, having that chance to debrief and just kind of reflect was crucial. And it was definitely enjoyed, and I think having that time to rest and recover was huge, because it's definitely a full year, but I'm never going to forget it because it was definitely one of the most enjoyable I'm ever going to have.
You play in 37 games, but you do that at 3 different levels, and that seems like such a whirlwind. And starting off, obviously, in Florida, in the GCL, and then jumping up to Aberdeen and Delmarva. What was it like making those moves in your first season? Obviously, the Orioles really wanted to see both where they could test you last year and also not burn you out after such a long year. Making those moves, how challenging was that, or how much did you embrace and like that last year?
I mean, that's the thing is moving up each level to be with guys that you don't know or have never met before. It makes you uncomfortable, but you gotta. I think that's one of the best learning things is learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and so each time I moved up a level, I had to become friends with new guys and new faces. And those first couple of days in the locker room are kind of awkward, not knowing anyone. So it's almost like you're the new kid at school, but just making those friendships and coming into spring training this year with 3 different levels of people I'd play with, it made it a lot more fun to be there. And I think just cherishing that opportunity to move up different levels and have that uncomfortability was a blessing in disguise for me.
And let's jump back even further. We're talking here now about a week ahead of the draft, so you're 12 months out of your own draft story now. I feel like we only get to ask this to about a couple dozen guys in history, but at what point did you know that you were going to be the number 1 overall pick, or even a candidate to be the number 1 overall pick? I know it helped you hit 408 in 2018. That year Oregon State wins the national title. You come back 2019, you hit 411, you hit 17 home runs. You put yourself squarely in that conversation. But at what point did you realize, hey, this is my destiny, this is where I'm going?
Oh shoot. I mean, you have the pre-draft, these are like the top prospects. And I remember looking at the end of the season before, and I was the top prospect. And You know, people are like, oh, you know, my friends would love to joke around with me and say, oh, you know, just because you're there now, it doesn't mean you're going to be there, you know, in a year. Like, you know, hopefully you don't bust. And, you know, that's you know, some of the fun that they would flick me. And I think having people around me who would just kind of keep it light and, you know, keep perspective like that and keep me lighthearted was huge. But I think it was really not until about a week before the draft that I was like, wow, this is, you know, a real possibility and could, you know, definitely happen. So yeah, it was a crazy experience. And I think that week leading up, there was a lot of phone calls and just, you know, just a huge run of emotions that, you know, and a lot of conversations that took place. So.
Yeah, and not to get too deep into it, but I know the Orioles, pretty much everybody had you slated to go to the Orioles, and then it happens, and I think even the GM said at one point, hey, it's nice to see you again. And just what was the lead up like with that and the flirtation with them, knowing, you know, it's one thing to go number one overall, but now all of a sudden you know who exactly you could go to. What were those weeks leading up to in terms of those discussions with your advisor and all of that leading up to number one overall?
I mean, the thing, like the biggest thing that my advisor had to say at the time was basically just, you know, you can control what you can control and just, you know, keep having fun and keep playing and the rest will take care of itself. Like, don't even worry about the draft or where you're going to go because, you know, you just got to keep on the course. And so that was kind of my mindset, like the whole year. We were just, you know, focus on the team, focus on what I can do and just keep working every day. And, you know, whatever comes as a result is going to be because of the work and because of the mindset you had going in. But those, you know, those conversations leading up, you know, I met with them once during that year, in person. They came to Corvallis and, but really up until the, you know, the final couple days, there was not a lot of conversations that took place. So, you know, not as many as people think actually. So it was kind of, you know, it was crazy. And I think it made it more exciting because I really did not know until, you know, they really called my name. So that made it a lot more exciting.
And let's get into the baseball reasons why you were the number one overall pick. One thing that stands out to me is you went from hitting 9 homers in that really good sophomore year we talked about to hitting 17 as a junior, and your walks also went up pretty good. You went from 53 walks to 76. You only struck out 38 times. You basically doubled the amount of walks you had versus strikeouts. What approach changes or what physical maturation went into both that power jump and also the approach to the plate, to the place where you could walk 70 plus times in just a single spring?
Okay, before the year started, they kind of talked to me about Michael Conforto when he was there and his junior year. And they said he had like a tough start to his junior year. And that was kind of the, you know, year that he was the guy on the team. And they said the biggest problem he had was, you know, he was trying to do too much. You know, guys were going to pitch around him. They weren't going to want to throw to him. And just take your walks when you get them and not be, and, you know, and be selective about your pitches. And so for me, that was kind of my mindset going in was, okay, if people want to walk me, if they want to pitch around me, then I'm going to take the walks. And eventually they're going to have to throw to me at some point, and I just have to be ready when they do. And so for me, it was just trying to be patient at the plate, led to those walks. And then, you know, it still allowed me to, you know, hit the pit. When I got good pitches, I swung. So that was the biggest thing for me on that front. And then just for the power stuff, it was just swing adjustments over the course of the, you know, 3 years I was there.
Adley, let's talk about Oregon State baseball a little bit. Prior to the 2006 National Championship, you know, it had been forever since a quote-unquote northern school or a quote-unquote cold weather school had won a national championship in baseball. And Pat Casey built up that program. I mean, that was over a decade into his tenure as the head coach there, but builds that program into a national powerhouse. And Pat Casey's an Oregon-born guy. You're an Oregon-born guy. I know you got a lot of ties to Oregon baseball. Your father played at Linfield and all that type of stuff. What is it about Oregon and about Oregon State that has created such a monster out there? It's such a fascinating and awesome baseball community that I think 15 years ago people probably were not really aware of. What is it about Oregon State that's made it what it is?
I mean, it's Pat Casey. The dude is just unreal. If you ever have the chance to listen to him speak or be around him, you'll understand why Oregon State is the way it is. And, you know, the way he talks about stuff, the way he motivates is just on another level. And he can, you know, he can do things that I've, you know, never seen from another coach. And it's just, I don't know how he did it. But the man just, he created a winning program through just, you know, will, determination, and just, you know, instilling a mindset into his players that, you know, they can take into whatever, you know, wherever they go from there, you know, whether it's pro ball, becoming a father, husband, you know, worker, whatever it is, they take that mindset into it. And I think that's why a lot of Oregon State guys, you know, do great things after they're done with baseball.
When you look back on where you were as a senior in high school or freshman in college going into that program, what did he help you grow with most, both as a ball player and as a person?
I mean, for me, my freshman year, he was, you know, he's tough on a lot of the freshmen, and he kind of sees, you know, basically who can take it and who's going to basically rise from that, you know, motivation, and who's not. And I think the guys who do, they become, you know, great players, and the guys who don't, they don't end up doing as much. And I think, you know, that's just kind of the way he does it. My freshman year, I mean, that's really what he did for me. As far as like any physical adjustments, it wasn't as much as the mental mindset that he, you know, created for me.
I got to ask you a football-related question. I think a lot of people probably are not aware that you played football at Oregon State as well your freshman year. You were a place kicker on kickoffs, 20 touchbacks as a freshman. But I want to go back to high school. Is it true that you kicked a 63-yard field goal in high school? That's the NFL record, right? 60, maybe 64 now for the NFL record. But for generations, that was the NFL. You kicked a 63-yard field goal?
Yeah. My senior year.
How is that possible?
Crazy.
Take us through that moment.
Oh, my gosh, man. Oh, I mean, so it was semifinal game against Tigard High School just down the road. They were at our place, and there was, I think, 3 seconds left in the half. We were on the 46-yard line, and one of our coaches called timeout. It wasn't even our head coach. and they called – I think it was our special teams coach. He called timeout, and our head coach was like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Let's try a field goal." And I remember before the game, I think I stretched it out to 65 yards. So they're kind of like, they thought, okay, 65 is the limit for today. But, you know, usually when you are in game, they're not going to pull the trigger on that.
Right.
So, but they did, and they're like, all right. He's like, shoot, let's do it. So sent the field goal unit out, and I went out there, and my only goal was to just not miss short. So I was like, you know, wherever it goes. And I kind of had that little lefty. It curved back, you know, started off left and curved back to the right because I'm, you know, left-footed kicker, and just kind of curved back in. And, you know, shoot, man, it had the distance. And, you know, time ran out on the clock, and it was halftime. So everyone just kind of stormed the field. And then we went into the locker room, and it was just wild, man. Like one of the best moments I've had, especially for football in high school, like just crazy.
That is amazing.
We can only imagine what cool moments are coming. I mean, you've done that. Like we said, you've won a College World Series. You've caught the last out of that. But as you're beginning your pro career here, and we don't know what that's going to look like in terms of 2020, but you know, you're getting to know pro ball a little bit more. You're getting to know the Orioles organization a little bit more, and the city of Baltimore. What are you learning about the Orioles, Baltimore in general, and what do you hope Orioles fans get to know about you as they get closer to thinking about, you know, you're the top prospect, you're the guy they could root for in Camden Yards someday. Yeah, what about both sides? Something you're learning about Baltimore and something you hope Baltimore learns about you?
I mean, well, just as about the organization as a whole, they've brought in a lot of new people in the past couple months. And from, you know, what I can tell so far and the conversation I've had with everyone, it just seems like they're preaching, you know, low ego, a lot of humility, and they're living by it. And, you know, all the minor league guys, major league guys, I know they can feel it. And I think it's a very difficult concept to implement in such a large amount of people, but I think they're doing a great job of it right now. And it starts at the top, and, you know, it works down. And I think they've done a great job of it so far. So I'm very happy with just the character of people that they've brought in. And I think that says a lot about an organization. It's just the character of people that work in it. And I think that, that feeds into the players. And so I'm very happy about that. Just as far as me, as a ball player, I always try and have fun on the field. I always, I love after an inning getting excited with the pitcher. The day that I stop having fun playing baseball is, the day that I'm going to quit. It's a game I love and I enjoy. And, it breaks my heart not to be playing. But, I hope that people see the excitement and joy I have when I play. And that's all I can ask, basically, is that people, I hope people enjoy watching it. I hope people enjoy watching me. And, I hope that they get, the same joy that I get playing as they do watching. So, it's a beautiful game, and, that's really it.
Yeah, and speaking of it being a beautiful game, we end every interview we do these days, these uncertain days, as it were, without knowing when minor league baseball will return, what it'll look like when it does. But in your brief time so far, whether it's in the GCL, whether it's with Aberdeen or Delmarva, what has been your favorite minor league memory?
I think Aberdeen. We had a game winner. I think it was like bottom 9. We had a game winner, and it was basically 2 outs, runner on second, and we had a single to drive in the winning run. And we all kind of just stormed the field, took out the Gatorade, took out the water coolers, and just dumped it on the guy who hit it. And basically it was just one of those cool moments that kind of brought me back to college, and just the excitement that everyone had for winning a game. It was a fun moment, and just to have that. After that, we actually got on a bus and drove 9 hours to somewhere else, but it was an exciting time, and just kind of brought me back to those college days. So.
Adley Rutschman is the 4th-ranked prospect in baseball. I do have to ask you one thing before we go. Were you a fan of wearing black and orange before you went to college? Because now you're set for life with black and orange gear.
Oh, I know. I can't get away from it. Yeah.
It's a good setup. It works out pretty well for you. It looks good on you. The O's will obviously lavish you with whatever you have for the career ahead, and we're excited to see where it goes, man. Top prospect in the Baltimore Orioles organization, and Adley, big thanks for joining us. We know things are so strange right now, and schedules are weird and all that, but we'll see you back on a field sometime soon, and can't wait for that moment, and thanks for all the time today.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Adley Rutschman was kind enough to join us on episode 262 of the Show Before the Show podcast. The very next episode 263, we went with Bobby Witt Jr. So we went from Adley Rutschman, the top selection in the 2019 MLB first-year player draft, to Bobby Witt Jr., who was taking the pick right after Adley Rutschman. We were bringing the prospect interview heat in the summer of 2020, possibly in part because everybody was just sitting around and didn't have anything to do, and they were like, all right, I'll talk to these weirdos from MILB.com. But it was so cool hearing from Adley. It was really cool talking to Bobby Witt Jr., and it was very interesting. If you're at all fascinated by these couple of conversations, you can go back and listen to our archives of our podcast interviews from that time. And it was really fascinating to hear from all these different prospects of like, how are you staying in shape right now? What are you doing baseball wise? And Bobby Witt Jr. was one of those guys who we got to talk to in June of 2020. This week's Nationwide Road to the Show ambassador, the 10th-ranked prospect overall in the game of baseball, according to MLB Pipeline, the 2nd overall selection in the 2019 Major League Baseball first-year player draft, and the top Kansas City Royals prospect, shortstop Bobby Witt Jr. joins the show from home in Texas and waiting out, hopefully, a pause that will get us to baseball at some time relatively soon. Bobby, how are you, man? What's going on?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking. Just trying to stay busy throughout all of this and trying to stay ready as much as I can.
And at this stage, it's obviously kind of, I think, reaching a fever pitch where everybody just wants to know what happens next. What has the process been like for you? You know, it's 3 months now since spring training really was put on hold, a little bit over 3 months at this stage, which is kind of crazy to think about. When you found out the news, what were your steps from there? I mean, did you go home immediately, and how have you been staying ready?
Yeah, so in spring training, I was kind of just doing our normal day, and then they kind of had us in for a meeting, and we're like, we'll have a meeting tomorrow about all this virus stuff. And then the next day they're like, all of you guys kind of need to go home. So then from there, just stayed there a couple of days, just waited it out a little bit, and then eventually went home. And ever since then, just been kind of try to get into a routine with it. On Tuesdays and Fridays, I'll go out and face some other like major league pitchers and do some live at bats and stuff. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, I do kind of my workouts just to kind of stay in shape and stay ready. And then the other days, I'm hitting or doing whatever, and then lately I've been playing a little bit of golf, trying to get good at that, since that's the only really competition that I could do right now.
What's one of the things that's been kind of cool for us to hear from players that we've talked to over the last few weeks is the way, especially after the initial blow of quarantine and staying inside and all of that, when that kind of started to at least level out and solidify and people had an idea of what life was going to look like, hearing from players and how they were communicating with each other and trying to figure out, hey, can we get to a field? Can we throw? Is there a cage that's accessible for us? How many guys have you been sort of in contact with, and have you been able to interact with and maybe work out with or do some baseball-related activities with?
Oh, yeah, there's a bunch of guys. Just luckily, just being in Texas, there's a bunch of professional guys and guys throughout the minor leagues like me and around here. So I've been able to reach out to them and get to work with them. But a lot of the public school fields aren't really open, so we've been trying to get out to like private schools and then like schools that are allowed to have us out there to do like I was like the live at bats or hit BP on the field. And now some other cages are starting to open up, which is good. So, which is allowing me to go out there. It's just kind of hard with nothing really open and then things. We just got to try to obey what they're saying and try to stay as safe as possible throughout all this.
And before you mentioned that you've been facing major league pitchers as part of these BP things. You don't have to name names if you're not comfortable, but what is it like going through that right now? Because in a normal season, you would probably be right now at Class A Lexington or Class A Advanced Wilmington, going through the lower levels of the minors. And even in your workouts now, it sounds like you're going up against upper level arms. What is that doing for you to prep, and what are you taking away from those sessions?
Oh, it's been awesome just to kind of face those guys and see what they're doing and trying to get me out, and then kind of learning from that, and then know their tendencies and whatever. And maybe hopefully someday down the road, I'll actually eventually face them. But yeah, just doing that and being able to pick their brains, and also some of the other hitters that are big league hitters, to being able just to talk with them and how their journey was throughout the minor leagues and what's the best advice that they could give me that they wish they had going out throughout the minor leagues. So it's been good just to kind of learn from them, because pretty much every time I'm going, I'm learning something new each and every day, which is, I think it's awesome. And so I've been really privileged to be able to be around those guys and get to work out with them.
Yeah, and that kind of pivots to something else I wanted to ask about, because so much of the talk about there being no minor league season right now is the loss of development for a lot of players, and especially somebody like you coming out of the draft just last year. This was supposed to be your first full season, but given all that work you put in, what is a way you feel like you have developed from that time in March when spring training was put on hold to now when you're going up against those pitchers or working on your craft in the field? What's a way you feel like you've grown even in this time of quarantine?
I really think it's just fine-tuning the little things, whether it's like kind of getting my timing right or doing little things in the field work, turning double plays, but those things. But I think the biggest thing is the mental side. That's what also has been huge for me. I've been kind of working with a guy named Brian Kane throughout all this, and he's helped me. He's a mental performance coach, just kind of getting my mind right, because I know once this stuff eventually hopefully will end, then we'll be back to playing baseball. So I was just trying to get my mind as mentally sharpened as possible, so that whenever times get tough, if I go into slumps or whatever, then I can try to get out of those as much as I can, because people say that this game is 90% mental. So I just wanted to try to make that one of my highs, as well as just also my performance on the field.
And let's pivot back to that draft last year. The draft was just held last week, and we talked to Adley Rutschman last week, the number 1 overall pick. You were number 2. We talked to him about when he knew he was going to be in that upper echelon, not necessarily number 1, but in those first couple picks. And it's one thing to go through that in college. You were going through that in high school. I know there are a bunch of showcase circuits, a bunch of ways for you to show off your talent, but at what point, either in the spring or even before that, did you think, hey, I have a chance to go in the top 3 picks? And how did that weigh on your mind as the spring went along in 2019?
I guess with just hearing some of like the publications that came out and just the mock drafts or whatever saying projections or whatever, but really just throughout that summer, a lot of people are asking me questions like what if, a lot of what ifs, but I really just took that like a target, put it on a target on my chest and it made me want to work harder and harder to actually make that goal possible. And so that's kind of what happened. And really throughout that whole summer and everything, I just thought about just trying to win every game that I play in, whether it's the Under Armour All-American game or the Perfect Game All-American game or with Team USA, just to try to go out there and win, because whenever I'm trying to win, that's when I'm playing my best, and that's when all the fun happens. So that's kind of how I took throughout like the draft process and everything, just go out there, have fun, and just compete and try to win. And then eventually whatever happens, because it was kind of, I had some say of where I was getting drafted by my performance, but really it was the evaluator's decision. So I just had to go out there and enjoy every moment and just go out there and have fun.
Bobby, last year you get to go through the whole draft process in a normal year, and we're a year removed from that now, and everything is so different. If you were a guy who was coming out in 2020, I mean, when you think of the kids who were headed into their senior year and it seemed like everything was going to be fine and normal in January and February, and then all of a sudden there is no baseball season for seniors this year and the draft is sliced down to 5 rounds and all that kind of stuff. What did that feel like for you, being somebody who was in that position a year ago and now having to watch kids? I mean, obviously guys that you played with and played against go through this.
Yeah, I'm just extremely blessed that all this stuff didn't happen last year, and those kids this year, I just couldn't imagine with all those things that were happening now. I talked to a bunch of the guys like Pete Crow Armstrong, like other guys that I played with, just how things are going. They go, it's going good. They all took it in positive ways, which is good, and I just really couldn't imagine this being last year or whatever, just with our high school team having a good team, and we won a state championship last year, and so that would have been taken away, and just not being able to play with those guys, but then also just all those other guys that were drafted later past the 5th round that I got to play with this past year. I couldn't even imagine not being able to meet some of those guys, and those guys that kind of took me under my wing throughout my first year. But then if this happened last year, I wouldn't even be able to meet those guys, which would have been kind of sad for me, I'd say.
Let's go back to the start of your professional career last year. You get drafted, you get signed, and you're in the AZL, I mean, really within a span of a week, and you play your first game at the end of June, so a few weeks after the draft, but jump right into it, 3 hits in the AZL debut, and when you go from being a guy who is a high school player, not necessarily knowing where you're going to end up in those first several picks, to a month and a half later, you're playing pro ball and you're in Arizona. What was that whirlwind like? Because we've talked with so many guys who, they'll come out of college, they'll get sent to a minor league community, at a full season level or whatever it is. But to get right into it after the high school season and be playing pro ball at a complex and doing all those things, what were those first few weeks like for you?
I was so antsy. I was so excited just to be out there playing baseball again, because I had like 2 or 3 weeks where I was just kind of sitting at home, getting my feet back underneath myself after all of that stuff happened. But then, just getting out to Arizona, getting to meet all the guys, and then just getting to play again it was a dream come true, because that's what I've always been working for my whole entire life, was to play professional baseball. And then now I had the opportunity there, and so I was really ready and really excited for what happened. And so I just kind of hit the ground running and just went from there.
And one key feature about the AZL, as most people know, but is that it features very few fans. And somebody who's played Texas high school ball in front of a decent amount of fans, you played, like we said, on the showcase circuit, some in major league stadiums. What is it like, just that abrupt change to everything's on a showcase to maybe there's a couple scouts around, especially asking now, because we're getting to a point where there might be no fans in major league parks for a while. Just what was it like to play in that AZL atmosphere?
Yeah, from going from our high school state championship game with 4,000 people to about, I think it was 15 maybe at the most fans at an AZL game with a couple scouts out there. it was a big difference. But I just kind of, whenever you just look at that, you just kind of zone into the game more, as if you're not already zoned in enough, but just not really taking your eyes off the game. So you're pretty much just locked in the whole time because you're not worrying about anything up in the stands or whatever. So it was kind of different at first. Just you could hear everyone's conversation throughout the dugout or in center field or whatever, which is different. But it was I just thought of it as the same game I've been playing, just really focused in on just my at bat, or I'm in the field playing short, really not really getting distracted with anything, which was kind of good just to get my feet wet with that.
And one of the biggest transitions for high school guys, even some college guys, is working with analytics. And you're somebody who hit 262 in 37 games, not bad by any stretch, especially for a guy just getting his pro career started, but not jumping off the page necessarily. But from what I've heard and read about your time in the AZL is that you put up really good exit velocities, and that's why everybody remains a high evaluation of you, because what you were doing outside of the numbers was really special. How much were the Royals presenting you with that information, and how did it change the way you were looking at the game in terms of it's not just hits, but how you're getting hits and the way you're putting the ball into play?
Yeah, that's something huge now. They think about just hit the ball hard, and those hits will fall. And some of those times during the AZL this past year, my hardest hits were outs, and my softest hits, they're the ones I was getting base hits off of. So it was different at the beginning and the start with all of that. But yeah, it's good information to know also in like BP and stuff, just to learn, because this game is kind of changing and you got to learn about the analytical side as well as everyone else needs to. So it's good information to have, but I don't really get myself into it too much, really, because I haven't really played a full season yet to learn about all of it. So I'm still kind of getting my head wrapped around it all. But I think it's going to help everyone as a whole as baseball goes on, for sure.
Yeah, and in that brief 37-game span in the AZL, like we said, not a lot of fans. It's a transition for anybody, but between that or even between instructs or something in the off season, what do you feel like was your welcome to pro ball moment?
I'd say just really the first game, really getting we got to play at the Sloan Park, the Cubs minor league spring training facility, and just getting that first hit out of the way, and everyone was kind of going. Was really excited for me. That was a big thing, and then just getting to experience the cultural change with all the Latins from everywhere. We had guys from the Netherlands. My roommate, he was from the Netherlands. Daryl Collins, guys from Japan, Korea, everywhere. Just that I think was the biggest and an eye opener for me. But I think it's also amazing that baseball includes everyone, people from all over the country, and that's what we had there throughout just my season and instruction, just kind of getting to learn about how they play the game and just being around those guys. I think that was one of the biggest changes and just one of the biggest introductions into pro ball, because I knew that was how it was, but I never realized how drastically the change was. I think it was maybe 50% people from America and then from people from the other countries.
Bobby, let's talk about the defensive side of things. I think for fans, it's so easy to get wrapped up in, well, what does this guy need to do at the plate to make himself into a big leaguer? I think one thing that defensively seems like it's certainly a big asset for you is the fact that you are a shortstop who is a true shortstop and will stay at shortstop. We see so many guys come out and, well, are they too big? Do they have enough range? Whatever. But it seems like the book on you is, no, this guy is he is the kind of prototypical future big league shortstop. When you get into pro ball and you're into a new system, on the defensive side, how do coaches approach trying to improve you as a fielder? Obviously, you're a guy with an arm tool that I know you hit mid-90s on the mound in high school, and it seems like the skill set is so good. For fans to understand how you develop defensively, what's the input that you get when you go into a system and coaches work with you on that stuff?
Yeah, they work on me with a lot, whether it's just kind of the arm action, how it works or whatever it is. But biggest thing for me is just really trying to slow down the game as much as possible. Because whenever I just kind of get into pro ball, I just try to speed everything up, and really I didn't really needed to take a step back and taking a step forward. because I was just trying to play so quick and just I just got to let the ball play me. And that's one of the things that they told me, really, just to let the play develop, and then you with your instincts and everything, just make the play happen. And that was something. And then we do a lot more drills than I've ever done, just with like footwork drills and hand-eye coordination drills, glove work, and a bunch of that stuff. And so, which was really good for me. And I just feel like, and has helped me a lot in getting more athletic throughout it all, and just always learning from other guys from, like kind of I was saying, from Dominican, Venezuela. They're growing up taking ground balls in dirt fields or whatever. So just seeing how their hands work and everything, just learning from watching people is also another thing that has helped me throughout all this.
I know that's another thing that a lot of people rave about with you, is how much you just love the game and love the work in the game. And being in the professional ranks is so different, because when you're in high school and you're the guy, you're a starting shortstop, it's, obviously a roster is much smaller, a program is much smaller, and you're kind of the person that's looked to at a position. But being in a professional system, there are so many other guys that you can work with and learn from and all that. How often do you just kind of sit down with teammates and pick each other's brains about, all right, well, in this situation, or the way you approach this ball or whatever it is, like how much of an asset is that for you to be able to have at the professional level?
Oh, that's huge, because you're playing with guys that are 4-year college starters, or even guys from all over the country. So they've been around the game, and you watch a baseball game, there's never really something that happens over and over again. Like, there's never the same game that happens each and every day. So you pretty much, just by watching the game and learning and hearing stories from other people, you learn something every day. And that's what we have. One of the coaches actually in the Royals organization, he takes a notepad and writes down 10 new things each and every day. And he's been around the game over 60 years. And so that pretty much shows you how much you can learn each and every day about the game. And just with picking the other guys' brains and everything, it's really cool just to learn about their story and how they got there too. And then what has helped them, and then you can take those things and apply it to yourself, and that will maybe help you, or take things away that they did wrong that you don't want to happen, and eliminate that so that you can be more successful. So really just taking things that works for you from each and every person, I think will help me and helps other people as well.
And speaking of taking things from people, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on this week is, as everybody knows, you're Bobby Witt Jr. You're the son of a 16-year major leaguer in Bobby Witt. But as you were preparing for last year's draft process, as you're going through your process now as a pro, what is it like to learn from your dad? What's something you picked up from him? And especially last year, what was it like having him not only by your side, having gone through the draft himself before as a 3rd overall pick, but him guiding you as an agent, not being somebody who has to have the process explained to him, he knows it through and through. What is it like having him by your side throughout all of this?
Oh, it's been awesome. It's almost like kind of having a cheat sheet for me throughout all of this. So he really has helped me throughout all the draft process and just being first year pro ball, because he's done all of this. He went through the draft process. He went through the minor leagues and made it to the big league. So just trying to learn from him and take bits and pieces from him that has helped him throughout his career has been awesome. And then just being able just to watch games with him every day. I'm watching a lot of replay games on MLB Network with him, and just always learning from that. And he's just telling me, played with him and talked about him and how he went about it with that are Hall of Famers now. So that's just awesome to have. And he's just been there, and he's always pushed me throughout my whole career just to work harder and harder each and every day. And just the biggest advice he's really told me is just always just work hard and stay humble through it all, and then you'll make your way throughout the minor leagues and hopefully be a big leaguer like he was, a 16-year vet. So just keep working towards that for sure.
Yeah, and part of those discussions, like you said, is coming up through the minor leagues, and he's somebody who went up fairly quickly. I mean, he was drafted 3rd overall, like I said, in '85. He was debuting in the majors in '86, and spent a good chunk of that year. He made 31 starts for the Rangers in '86. What memories of the minors does he share with you, and what does he tell you about what the player development process was back then compared to what it is now?
He shared with me a bunch of just stories about, like, a lot of them is actually kind of more funny stories that I don't know if I'd be able to share on this too, but and then And I'll just funny things like how he'd give up home runs to Mark McGwire and how he didn't even see the balls come off the bat and some things like that. And just throughout all of that, he just said that the difference is just back then was just people just, it was quicker. It wasn't a lot of player development, and that's why players didn't last as long in the big leagues. But now it's a lot more player development, which he thinks is awesome just because of how they can build a player up and get to their best capability, which is something that they didn't really do. If back then it was kind of like if they needed someone now, oh, you go straight up to the big leagues, which is different than now.
And as somebody now who's a professional athlete, a professional baseball player, somebody who signed a big bonus last year, you don't have to spoil it for this Sunday, but what do you get a dad who's been a 16-year major leaguer? What do you get him for Father's Day?
I don't know yet. I'm still kind of working on it. I know it's coming up, but I got for Christmas this past year, I got him a new car, so that was one of the bigger things that I got him, just showing my respect to him towards that. But I'm going to have to think of something coming up for sure, and I don't want to spoil it from him on here. So I'll figure it out soon for sure.
Fair enough. I was going to say, I think that covers you for maybe the next 5 to 10 Father's Days. You could try that.
You
I don't know if that fits on a card.
Maybe take him out to a nice steak dinner or something if it's open or something like that.
There you go. All right, well, we'll end with 2, but one thing I wanted to ask you about as well, we've had a couple of Royals prospects on lately, and it's just kind of worked out that way pretty well, but the Royals have been in the news for the last couple of weeks because of the way they've treated minor leaguers. General manager Dayton Moore coming out and pretty fierce defense of minor leaguers. They've announced they're not cutting anybody. They're paying everybody what they would have paid them through the rest of the season. What kind of outreach do the Royals have to you guys, even at the lower levels, in keeping you guys in the loop and developing you guys even at a time like this? I mean, what is it like to be a member of the Kansas City organization?
Oh, it's awesome. They treat us with the utmost respect throughout everything. They treat everyone like a first-round pick, which I think is awesome, from whether it's the top of the staff or the bottom. But yeah, right now we've been doing a lot of Zoom calls. We do 1 to 2 each and every week, and do that, get to see the guys' faces, talk to them, talk to the hitting coaches, talk to the fielding coordinators and everything. And also with strength and conditioning guys, they reach out to us pretty much every week and write us out a plan that we need to be doing and kind of keeping up with us, what we're doing. And same with like the health and nutrition people. If we need something, we can always reach out and ask them for help, or what do you think we need to do, or try to gain weight or lose weight throughout that. But then just the staff as a whole and just the Royals organization as a whole, people are now recognizing it just with what they're doing for the minor leaguers and everyone. It's just truly, you got to be in the organization to truly see it. It's just something, it's just first class. It's amazing how they treat the players and how they go about their way.
And speaking of the Royals, as somebody who now got to watch the draft as not a participant, but somebody who's already in the system and wonder who's going to be my future teammate, what was it like last week to follow the draft, and especially when Asa Lacy fell to the Royals there and they picked him up, adding to an already strong group of pitchers in that system? What was that like, and how excited were you to see Lacy fall like that?
Oh, I was just watching the draft. I don't know why I was nervous for it, but it was awesome seeing him get to the Royals at 4, and I was just really super excited just having another Texas boy in the Royals organization. And even Nick Lofton, another Texas guy out there. I'm just really excited to see what the future holds, and look forward to meeting all the guys that were drafted and signed throughout the draft and everything. So I'm super excited and really, really ready for that to happen.
All right, Bobby, we'll end on this one. We talked a little bit about your minor league time. Again, it was abbreviated last year in the AZL. We wish we had more potentially South Atlantic League or Carolina League time to talk to you about right now, but we've been asking everybody this while minor league baseball is on pause. So far in your career, what has been your favorite minor league moment?
Favorite minor league moment is probably during instructional league this past year, and when my roommate was Eric Pena. It wasn't probably like my favorite, but I think the most enjoyable one, and just to kind of laugh back at it, was my roommate Eric Pena. He's a 16-year-old. He's a stud from Dominican Republic, and he hits a home run, and he's running around the bases, and he's so excited, this guy, and he's running, and he misses home plate. And so he was just, we were all just like, no way, what just happened? And he didn't really care or anything. It was an instructional game, but we go back to the room and we're just cracking up. He goes, I can't believe I did that. We're just dying laughing. And then just being around those guys like that I think it's been awesome just to be around the guys from Dominican, Venezuela, or wherever they're from, just to get into that cultural change. But that moment was just something I'll never forget. And just him being my roommate and us kind of going back, talking about it and laughing at it. And whenever, if you guys ever talk to Eric Pena, he's one of the Royals prospects, just ask him about the Chick-fil-A strawberry shakes. He loves it.
Okay, but here's my question about the homer. I know it was an instruct scheme, but did the team in the field appeal and get him out?
Yes, they actually did. That's what he was just he was in the dugout giving everyone high fives, and they appealed. They got out. He didn't really. It was just funny. It was just a moment that you kind of just look back at and laugh.
You know what? It's your first pro home. It cleared the wall. That counts in my book. I don't care if it was an appeal or called out. That still counts. That is awesome. Yeah. Bobby Witt Jr. you can find on Twitter at Witt Jr. and the second overall selection in last year's Major League Baseball first-year player draft and the 10th overall prospect in the game of baseball, according to MLB Pipeline right now. Bobby, enjoy the rest of the time at home. Hopefully it'll be somewhat limited and we can see you back on a field sometime real soon. But thanks so much for taking the time today. We really appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
Well, in the immortal words of the late Mitch Hedberg in his joke about dialing out the whole phone number for 1-800-I-LOVE-BRAND-NEW-CARPET, if you've made it this far, God bless you. Our final interview on this lengthy clip show edition of the Show Before the Show podcast comes from a couple of years after we talked with Adley Rutschman and Bobby Witt Jr., and it is another guy who has become one of our favorites throughout his baseball journey, and that is the Pasquatch himself, Vinnie Pasquantino, who joined us in June of 2020 on episode 360 of the Show Before the Show and explained to us, among many other things, the difference between mini golf and putt-putt. And Vinnie Pasquantino, he and his Kansas City Royals right now taking on the New York Yankees in the American League Division Series, was kind enough to join us back on episode 360 of the Show Before the Show in June of 2022. Well, we are thrilled on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show to head to the, I think it's the Gateway of the West. What is it? I don't remember the nickname now for Omaha, Nebraska, but one of my favorite and most underrated cities in America, Omaha, Nebraska, where we find the 4th-ranked prospect in the Kansas City Royals organization, Vinnie Pasquantino, who joins us. Vinnie, what's going on, man? Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you guys, too. Thanks for having me on. I'm currently in the family room at Warner Park here in Nebraska, just at the stadium, getting ready for the game. So it's exciting.
Very cool.
Again, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much for doing this. I didn't screw it up. It is Gateway to the West, by the way. Tell us about first the situation. The ballpark, Warner Park in Omaha, is not actually in Omaha. It's in Papillion, just slightly outside of Omaha. What is the living situation like, the commute situation like when you guys are located a little bit outside of the main city? What is it like, kind of being part of that community?
Yeah, it's a cool community. So I technically live in La Vista, Nebraska, which is about 10 minutes away. It's where we were fortunate enough for, how that new rule passed this year where the team provides housing for, I guess if you're still on your rookie contract, teams provide housing, which is pretty cool. So they put us up in a really nice apartment complex in La Vista, and it's about 10 minutes away. You basically take one road and you get to the stadium, and it's good. It's long enough where you can listen to a few songs and decompress on the way home, but not long enough to where it's a 30-minute commute, which is always nice.
That is nice. And you are in the middle of really what we could say is your second straight or third straight breakout season, although you had a break in between that rookie campaign in 2019 and then getting to play a minor league season last year. So let's talk about 2022 to start things. You kick things off at Omaha. You're already almost 50 games in, but you got a slash line of 298, 392, 667, 15 homers so far. I know as of the beginning of this week, when we named you to our second straight Pipeline Prospect Team of the Week, you were leading all of AAA in runs batted in. You've got 52 in that category right now. It's AAA is supposed to be hard, Vinny. What's the deal here?
Well, I've been fortunate to have people on base for me. That's the easiest way to drive in runs, right? Is the guys in front of me have been doing a really nice job of getting on base. I can always appreciate that. It's just one of those things. I'm just I'm just trying to hit. That's about it. I have the same approach as I pretty much had since I was 10. I mean, obviously there's some more advanced things in there now, but I really just want to have good at bats, and I'm not worried about. I mean, obviously you're a little bit worried about the numbers, but when I'm at the plate, I don't care about my numbers. I'm just trying to have good at bats and make the pitcher work to get me out.
When you say you've had the same approach for so long in your baseball life, take us through what that is. What is the Vinnie Pasquantino approach, and how have you had to adapt, especially as you've climbed, you get to Northwest Arkansas and have so much success there last year, Omaha this year? How have you adapted to the level changes?
Well, I mean, my approach is quite simple. When you look at it from kind of an outsider's perspective, is I want to make the pitcher sweat a little bit when he faces me. That's about it. If I consider myself to have a good at bat, then even if it's not by industry standards, then I'm good with it. That's my goal. I have my own formula for what makes a good at bat, and it's not the same every time, right? Like if I see 10 pitches in at bat, it's normally for the most part a pretty good at bat. But if I hit one 100 on the first pitch and I line out or a flat or something, depending on how I feel about it, that's a good at bat too. So I really don't look at, oh, I hit a double there, or I hit a homer, or I hit a single, whatever it might be. I'm really looking at the approach and how I approach that at bat. And if I feel like I did a nice job, then I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and you said it's always been basically the same approach with some more advanced things to it. What are some of those more advanced things to it? Because obviously once you join an organization, once you join pro ball, there's a lot more voices talking to you about hitting. So what are some of the things that may be slightly different than from your college days? Well,
I think I've been able to flatten out at the top of the zone a good amount more since I got into professional baseball. Once that extra velo kicks in a little bit and guys are throwing 96, 97 at the top of the zone, you really got to learn how to get to it. So that's one thing that I can really picture of something I've focused on a little bit. I'm not saying I've changed everything about my swing, but I'm really focused on making sure I can get to that pitch, making sure I can cover, the lefty slider down and away, different ways people are attacking me. I want to be able to attack those pitches as well. So that's just one that kind of jumps out at me.
Yeah, and looking at what you've been able to do so far in 2022, as Tyler was saying, you're coming off a really hot month of May in which you hit 12 homers, and one thing that's always stood out to me talking about that approach is that you've typically been either a guy who's walked more than he struck out, or those rates have been about even. In May, it kind of swapped. You started to hit for more power, like I said, 12 home runs, but struck out 20 times and walked 11. Is that something you're becoming more comfortable with, or is that just something that happened in a small sample? Like, how are you able to turn on the power this last month?
No, that's never something I'm going to be comfortable with.
Fair enough.
It's one of those things where, the good thing about baseball is there's always something to look at. You're never perfect. So yes, I had a good month, but there are some things I want to clean up. I'm not worried about the month. The month's over, right? I joke with one of my best friends all the time, Michael Massey. We always talk about how the day before just has no effect on the next day. And it's the same that your first at bat has no effect on what you're going to do in your second. It's like flipping a coin, right? It's just because you flip heads doesn't mean tails is automatically going to be next, right? Heads could flip 10 times in a row. There's no rhyme or reason for it. Over the course of 100 flips, obviously it's not going to be heads all the time, but it's just one of those things that I'm always able to look at something and try to improve, right? I would prefer not to strike out 9 times more than I did walk in a month, but when you look back on the month, there were some things that I really tried to work on. I was successful at. There were some things I wasn't so successful at. So yeah, there's a new month. It's June. So, we're always trying to get better on every pitch, not just every day, every at bat, every pitch, and trying to work on something, to see something new from a pitcher, see what I'm feeling. And those things where, I'm not looking to walk. I'm obviously not looking to strike out. I'm just looking to have a good at bat every time when I go up there. And sometimes you walk more, sometimes you strike out more. It's just one of those things. I just try to keep I just try to keep myself in a headspace that's very neutral.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Well, like we were saying, the numbers will tell us one story, but you say, you look back at the month and you feel like there are some things you did well. So what, in your own words, what do you feel like you were most successful at during the month of May?
Well, I think I did a pretty good job of, this is just going to be a funny thing to say, but I did a good job of doing some damage on pitches that I got. I hit more homers this month, and I'm happy with that. I hit more doubles this month. I'm happy with, I think I tied myself in triples in the month of April and May. I think I had one in each. So we're going to try to keep that consistent throughout the rest of the year, try to hit one a month. But it's just one of those things that I think if I go back to the walks for a second, I think I walk more when I'm not putting the ball in play as much. So I think I did a good job this month of putting the ball in play with less than 2 strikes more. So I didn't have to get into 2-strike counts because in my opinion, that's where I think I walk the most, is when I get the full count and work and count. So it was just one of those things. I think I was playing the game a little bit better last month. So hopefully I can do the same thing this month and just really, just try to get the ball in play and make something happen.
Vinny, you were an 11th round pick out of Old Dominion in 2019. And people, are probably not familiar with just how familiar they are with Old Dominion baseball. I mean, there's been some really good talent that has come out of Old Dominion that I think people probably aren't aware of. Justin Verlander, probably the most famous alumnus. But I know the Royals felt like they had found a gem in being able to get you where they got you. What did it mean to you to be able to go in that spot in the draft and have an organization that was so excited about getting you?
It was pretty cool. And the cool thing about Royals is they really love players. So I think they were just as excited as guys that they picked after me and before me as they were me, right? I don't think it was just a me thing. I believe that they truly invest in their players, and I think it's a really cool thing. So to be in any organization that values you is a unbelievable thing. And I definitely feel valued in the Royals organization. So, I'm definitely happy that I'm a Royal.
Plus, you went from the Monarchs to the Royals, which has to be a very easy transition. I also have to,
similar color scheme too.
Exactly. Yeah,
nice.
you didn't have to trade in your ODU stuff. It's perfect.
That's right.
I also have to ask you about this, and I've just had, ever since Sam told me we were getting you on, I was like, you know what, Vinny seems like a guy who we can have a fun conversation with, because we've always heard such good things about you. And I know Northwest Arkansas did a t-shirt giveaway this year in honor of your time there last year. You did a video for Naturals fans, and you seem like a guy who's very well able to look at where you are in your career and give some good reflection. So I have to ask you, your MLB Pipeline prospect bio refers to you as a, quote, well below average runner. I am the slowest human being on the planet, and I take offense to that on your behalf. I want to point out, Vinny's got 2 triples this year. I cut the highlight of him flying to third base the other day on an RBI triple on the road. And not only that, in his career, I want everyone to know Vinny is successful on 9 of 10 stolen base chances. Vinny, please give us a defense of your speed, because I think you're getting a raw deal here.
This is what we joke about with the Royals all the time. And anybody who sees the video of me running is not going to agree with what I'm about to say, but I'm a good runner, not a fast runner, right? I'm just trying to clean up my game a little bit, be a good base runner. I don't need to be flying around the bases, but I feel like I score from first to home quite a bit. Guys put it in the gap. I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm not very fast. It's just as simple as that, but I try. So there's that. I will run hard. I can give you that. So, if you want to poke holes at my speed, that's fine. But you'll never be able to poke holes in. I swear I will run hard. It might not look like it, but I promise you, I am giving it everything I got to get to the base as quick as possible.
That's the right answer. The effort is there. Okay, maybe we weren't all born with blazing speed, but if the effort is there, that's the important thing on the base paths.
That's right. I'm trying, right? I'm trying my best.
I mean, if somebody wants to put "I'm a good runner, not a fast runner" on a workout shirt, I would wear it to run through the park.
I'm gonna go tell. I have to. Sorry, I don't have to. I get to go lift after this, and I'm gonna tell my strength coach we got to make those t-shirts happen.
Please do, and let us know when those are.
Yeah, and please send us a couple, because I think it's apt for both me and Sam. Sam actually runs pretty well. If you saw me running down the street, they'd be like, how do they put this live human being in slow motion in front of my eyes? That's crazy.
Well, the worst part about being slow and left-handed is when you hit a ground ball at the second baseman who's standing in short right field, is you're basically watching your slow death happen because you try to get to first and he's not going very fast because he knows that you're not fast. And it's just like, can you just please throw me out? Because I'm not going to get there. And it always ends up being like a step and a half away. And it's just unnecessary for all parties involved.
We both know how this is going to end. Can't you just make this throw a little quicker?
But I will say sometimes when I'm at first and a guy like me, like a bigger guy, bigger left-handed hitter hits me a hard ground ball, I will take my time to get to first. You make the guy work for it a little bit. You know, make him think he can get to it.
That's good karma. You have to suffer through it so you make other people.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, Vinny, I was going to ask about this, and I'm glad actually Tyler asked you about it in terms of like what is the setup in Omaha, because it just confirms to a lot of Royals fans who are wondering where you are at all times at this point, that you are in Omaha. You're still at AAA. As somebody who is knocking on the door of the major leagues, and it has been as hot as you've been, like how much do you pay attention to how close am I to the majors? What's going on in Kansas City? How can I potentially plug myself in very soon?
So the best way that I would answer that is I've thought about the major leagues every day since I was about 3 years old. So nothing's changed. Every morning I wake up, I want to be a big leaguer. That's all I think about. I want to be a big leaguer. So just because I'm in AAA does not change that mindset. I know that I'm one step away, but I also know that I'm still a step away. So I'm just trying to do everything I can on a daily basis to become a big leaguer. And that has not changed since I was young. So it's just one of those things that I hope one day the time comes, I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen. But more importantly is tonight, I am the DH in the Omaha Storm Chasers game, and I'm going to do everything I can to help this team win because that's all that matters. I'm going to do the same thing tomorrow. I'm going to do the same thing Saturday. I'm going to do the same thing Sunday. I'm going to do the same thing the rest of the year. Wherever I am playing, I will do whatever I can to help that team win, and that's all I'm focused on.
All right, well, I'll ask this then. As somebody who's thought about their major league debut since you were 3 years old, and it's a lot more real than it is for a lot of people. We just had this with Adley Rutschman. He got called up, and they had that really cool moment where you could see him take in what it was like to play in Camden Yards. He kind of did a 360 look. What do you imagine that first day is going to be like? Like, do you allow yourself to think about that? Do you allow yourself to think about what you would do in your first at bat?
It's kind of funny. I've never actually, I have over the past few years, but when I think about playing Major League Baseball, I've never thought about that first moment on the field. I've always thought about standing in the middle of the field with the commissioner, with 26 other guys around me, holding a World Series trophy. Like when I close my eyes and think about Major League Baseball, that's what I think about. But I have thought a little bit about, how I'm not going to sleep. I probably won't be able to feel my legs. I probably won't remember the day very much because it's just going to be unbelievably stressful. Not stressful in terms of, you're realizing a dream, but stressful in terms of you probably got a lot of family coming into town. You got a lot more extracurriculars going on, and it's just for that one day because after that it will slow down. But it's just one of those things that, I'm going to take it in as much as I humanly possibly can. But at the end of the day, it's baseball, and the only thing that matters that day is whatever team I'm on, try to help them win. I'm sorry to keep going back to that point, but at the end of the day, we're trying to win ball games, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah, and when you talk about the logistics of what that could be like, and again, I don't want to get too ahead of this, but I'm just fascinated by talking to somebody who is at the AAA level and is proving their potential major league readiness by the day. When you are at AAA now, and it is just one call away, like, do you always have to be on? Do you always keep yourself, like, do you not allow yourself to go to movies, to keep your cell phone off in case a call comes from the Royals GM or something? Like, what is it like just being at that environment, knowing you are one call away?
So this is a kind of a funny side note to go off of just that. Last week, I was fortunate enough that my girlfriend was able to come to Louisville. That's where we were. And we were staying at her grandparents' house. And I left my phone in my car. And I asked her if she would go grab it because I was I was already laying in bed. So I didn't have any interest in going, and she was still up. And she said, "Why do you need your phone?" And I go, "Well, what if somebody needs to get in touch with me? Like, I can't not have my phone." And it's that exact thing. No, my phone will be on me unless I'm at the field or with somebody in the Royals organization that could get in touch with me if need be. I will always have my phone on me because you're right. because I believe the person who's made those phone calls so far this year is our manager, Scott Thorman. So if he ever calls me, I'm probably going to pick up on the first ring.
That's so awesome. Vinny, I want to ask you about a few things, just kind of going back in your baseball days, your personal interests, all that type of stuff. I know one of my favorite things when we have players on and went to college is to go back and look at your college bio, because there's always more fun notes in a college bio than we find on the pro ranks. Your favorite food, according to ODUsports.com, listed as a Chipotle burrito bowl. Let's get the bowl order. What's the bowl?
Well, so it's changed a little bit. It's brown rice, black beans, half chicken, half steak, cheese. That's it.
Wow.
I'm so boring.
Okay.
Yeah, but
interesting. So no salsas, no veggies, none of that.
No, there's a fun fact about me is I'm a pretty picky eater in the fact that I cannot stand pretty much most vegetables. So, anything that's extracurricular, I don't want on pretty much anything I eat. I just want meat, cheese, and I just got into beans like a year ago.
So I just got into beans. Have you heard of these beans they got now?
Yeah,
I just got into these.
I started with pinto beans, and then my girlfriend, Ryan, we lived together in Nashville in the off season. She made these bowls at home one time, and she didn't tell me that black beans were in it, and I ate it. I was like, wow, this is pretty good. She goes, there's black beans in there, Oh man, you got me, I guess. And so now I like black beans.
That is amazing.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay. You list putt-putt as one of your favorite hobbies. Do you get to go mini golfing much these days? I'm actually like a little bummed. I was a radio guy in the Carolina League for 3 years. Myrtle Beach, home of the Cubs affiliate now, is like the putt-putt capital of the world. Now, you didn't get to go through there on your minor league road coming up. Are there a lot of putt-putt stops in like Quad Cities or Northwest Arkansas? I know Omaha has some good places. Do you get to do it at all?
Well, so I'm going to have to stop you right there because there's a difference between putt-putt and mini golf.
Is there really?
Yeah.
I know
this because if you go to so putt-putt is an actual, like, I'm going to say the word sport here. And I'm just going to say it, but putt-putt is an actual thing. And if you find your way to the Putters Association website, and you go to 1992 and you look at the JPA national champions, you will see one Dennis Pasquantino as a national putt-putt champion. That is my father.
Wow.
He won the 1992 Junior Putters Association National Championship, and there's a putt-putt in Richmond, Virginia. It's off Midlothian Turnpike if you're in the 804 greater region at any point. And the difference between putt-putt and mini golf is putt-putt has they have railings that are actually flat, so you're supposed to bank off the railings. Okay. Whereas mini golf has the bricks where it's, you can't really, you could try to bounce it, but it might hit the crack in the brick. So that's the difference there is putt-putt, it's life or death out there. Mini golf, you're just having a good time. And every Tuesday night when I was in high school, they still do it. Actually, they have tournaments at putt-putt where some of the guys who are members there that are unbelievable at putting, bring your own putter, bring your own ball, everything like that. They play in tournaments. And when I was a senior in high school, all my buddies and I and my dad, we would go up there and play every Tuesday night. We would play in putt-putt tournaments. You start with 36 holes, I believe, 36 or 54 holes, and then whoever wins that wins. And then you go into match play after that, and you play in a tournament of match play. It's unbelievable.
This is amazing. And I feel so I feel like I owe an apology to the putt-putt community that I've so long lumped you in with mini golf. And it's the same. So you're saying like putt-putt is a thing. You're not like trying to bank it through Abe Lincoln's feet or like get it through a gap in like a clown's teeth.
That's right. That is right. Which is funny you mentioned that. I just watched Happy Gilmore the other day, so I'm glad you brought that up. It's a good movie.
Now
but yeah,
I know.
that's the definition of mini golf right there. In Happy Gilmore, they were playing mini golf,
not putt-putt. That is fascinating. And now I know, and I have learned something.
On behalf of the putt-putt community, we accept your apology.
Thank goodness. I was so worried of like the angry letters that we were going to get at the MLB offices from the angry putt-putters. But Vinny has given me, I'm absolved now from my putt-putt, my glaring mistake. Okay, I have to ask you this question, Vinny, as somebody who I am the half Italian member of this podcast. And I also have a father named Dennis. So we have two things in common, although he's not the Italian one. My mom is the Italian one. But you have a name, Vinnie Pasquantino, that whenever we tweet anything about you from MILB or Pipeline, whenever anybody talks about you, there is always the reaction of like the chef gif with the kiss hand or comments about being Italian. You've got the perfect Italian. If your name was like Jeremy Pasquantino, you'd probably get some of it, but being named Vinnie Pasquantino, what is it like dealing with that? Is it funny for you? Is it kind of annoying? Like, what is it like dealing with the constant comments around your name?
Sometimes I try to lean into it. Like right now I have long enough hair where I can slick it back and I look pretty Italian. So I like doing that sometimes. I'm a known chain wearer, so that leans right into the stereotype too of wearing a bunch of chains. So I think it's hilarious because the only thing I really do that's super Italian, and it's only Italian because of the show Friends, is I say "How you doing?" But that's like, so like if I see you in this, like anybody I see, I'll be like, "Hey man, how you doing?" That's about it. That's like the only thing that I do that you'd be like, that's relatively Italian right there. But I love it. I think it's hilarious. I don't speak Italian. I don't like tomatoes. I don't like onions. So like if I have spaghetti sauce with like tomatoes or onions in it, I kind of hate it. But that's just kind of between us. But it's just one of those things where I see it and I appreciate the fans always, right? I don't control that narrative, so I appreciate them. If that's what, that's what people want to tweet it. That's cool. I don't know. My grandfather's pretty Italian, so he probably really loves it. And yeah, I don't really have much comment on the Italian stuff. Keep doing it if you want. I don't care. I think it's funny. I think it's cool. So it's cool with me.
Well, we do have to get you on the record about this, at least, because there are two nicknames out there about you, and they're both Italian based. One comes from George Brett himself, who called you in an interview the Italian Nightmare. And the other is the Italian Breakfast, which I am personally partial to. Obviously, an ode to Billy Butler, who is known as Country Breakfast, another really good Royals first baseman, obviously. On May 23rd, you tweeted, "I honestly don't know what a real Italian breakfast is, but yesterday I had biscuits and gravy and 2 cups of coffee with a dash of French vanilla creamer." So if you had a preference to go by a certain nickname, as as more people get to know you, would you prefer the Italian Nightmare or the Italian Breakfast?
Anytime that one of the best hitters of all time gives you a nickname and you're also a hitter, I think you just have to full stop and go with that one. So of the two, I'm going to have to go with George Brett here and say the Italian Nightmare. But that means there's no hate towards the Italian Breakfast. I'm very open. People can choose what they want. I'm not going to control the narrative when it comes to my own nickname. So anybody, you can call me whatever you want. That's fine.
I enjoy that. Ken Griffey Jr. was both junior and the kid. You can have multiples.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, whatever.
That's fantastic.
Tyler has nothing to add to that. He's
also on my Old Dominion on my page, it should say somewhere on there that if there's one place you want to visit, where would it be? And because I was a freshman in college and I was 18 years old, I said Omaha, Nebraska, because that's where the College World Series is. So kind of fitting that our AAA team is in Omaha, Nebraska. So I've crossed that off my bucket list, apparently, of visiting Omaha, Nebraska. So I'm here. I'm not here in the capacity that I thought I would be, which would be at the College World Series. But I am here. But
you are there, and you will get a chance in the next few weeks to be in that city when the College World Series is going on. Do you guys are you going to be home? Do you have any plans? Obviously, there's the Monday off day now across the minor leagues. Are you going to get a chance to maybe go check out what was formerly TD Ameritrade Park? Now it's been changed to a new naming rights sponsor who I can't remember now. But are you going to get a chance to go?
Probably not. I have no idea when the College World Series is. And to be honest, I don't. I think we're at home next week and then we're on the road and then we're home again. And then I have no idea after that. So it's just kind of up in the air. But I will say if we do randomly get some sort of day off, probably the last place that I will be going is to watch a baseball game. It has nothing to do with
It's a smart
guys.
plan.
I don't know anybody that's going to be in the College World Series this year. Unless if Auburn makes it, I will be there. I will find a way there because Carl Nonamaker, who is the guy who recruited me at Old Dominion, one of the guys, there was plenty, but one of the guys at Old Dominion who recruited me, and he is now the recruiting coordinator / first base coach at Auburn. So if they make it, I will be making an appearance at the College World Series.
All right, Vinny, final couple of questions for you that we got to ask you before we get you out of here. You are a guy who has been honored by past teams. As I mentioned a little while ago, there was a Northwest Arkansas Naturals Vinnie Pasquantino t-shirt giveaway last month. You tweeted on that day, quote, "First off, I'm honored that you guys are doing a t-shirt giveaway with my name on it. So thank you, Northwest Arkansas Naturals. Second off, if you receive this shirt, bring it to the first base side seating area tomorrow, and Michael Massey will sign every one of them." You told us that Michael is one of your best friends. He was actually on your fellow roster with the Pipeline Prospect Team of the Week this week. He's in Northwest Arkansas. Did anybody do that? Did Michael tell you? Did anybody come by and be like, "Hey, I saw on Twitter that Michael Massey would sign this for me"?
No, so to be honest, I tweeted that before I told him I was going to. It was about the same time, and he doesn't have a Twitter, so when I tweeted it, I immediately text him and I say, "I just want you to know that I promised 500 people if they see this that you will sign every one of their T-shirts." And some of the guys on the team were giving him some grief about that, but I guess nobody ever came to the side. He said he didn't see anybody, so I don't know if he's lying to me or what's going on there.
Up. He should have been standing there with a sign that said like designated Vinny t-shirt signer.
No
Michael
doubt.
Massey
I agree
with an arrow.
100%. So I'll have to find a way to make Michael Massey pay for that one a little bit, maybe send him. I got a few of those shirts. Maybe I'll send them to him to get him to sign them for me.
Yeah.
I'll keep
and send
those
it back.
for myself.
Yeah. I think that's a great plan.
Yeah.
That's what friends do for each other. So Michael, you gotta be, you gotta be on the ball for this when you get that package in the mail in Northwest Arkansas. All right, Vinny, we are going to let you get rolling and get set for this game against Indianapolis tonight. You guys are set to take on the Pirates AAA affiliate coming up this evening at Warner Park. And thanks so much for the time, man. Congrats on all success. If you want to follow Vinny on Twitter, which we would recommend. He is on Twitter at @VPasquantino. And Vinny, thanks so much for the time, man. Congrats on all success. And I'm sure we'll be seeing you in Kansas City before too long.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it again. Thanks for having me on.
It's really amazing getting a chance to look back on all of this. And if you tuned in to all, 32 hours of this week's episode of the show before the show, we really thank you for all of your support, for listening to this one. I would imagine if you listen to this one, you've probably listened to a lot of other episodes of the show before the show. And we have to thank you for that as well. Sam and I have been really lucky to do this for a long time with Benjamin Hill, with Josh Jackson, with everyone else from MILB.com and now MLB Pipeline. And it's been really amazing to see just all the different voices that we've gotten to have on this show over the years. And now to see so many of these players having so much success is really cool. But it's also really the coolest thing and the most fulfilling thing of all of this to know a lot of these are really good people as well. And those are the people that you cheer for most in sports and everywhere else. And it's been very neat to get to know some of these guys over the years and, to get to have moments like several months after we had Vinnie Pasquantino on the show before the show. I was broadcasting the games for the World Baseball Classic in Taiwan. He was on the Italy team for that group. And I remember getting a chance to go up to him and say, "Oh yeah, I was the host of that podcast. We asked you about putt-putt versus mini golf." And he remembered immediately. I remember talking to Jeff Hoffman, who we had on a very early episode of the show before the show podcast. I think like episode number 5, maybe. Jeff Hoffman, of course, now with the Philadelphia Phillies, a 2014 first-round pick of the Toronto Blue Jays. Jeff Hoffman had Tommy John surgery, was out of action, did not make his debut until a year plus after his draft selection by the Blue Jays. But I remember meeting Jeff Hoffman a couple years later and saying, "Yeah, we had you on the minor league podcast back in the day." And he said, "Oh, that was the coolest thing for me because people had kind of forgotten about me. I hadn't done a whole lot of interviews since I got drafted, and it was really neat to get a chance to talk to you guys." We've had so much fun. I'm getting like a little misty-eyed talking about this. We're almost 10 years into this podcast, and when we launched it, We really had no idea what it was going to be or what the market for it was going to be or if anybody was going to listen or be interested. And we've been really, really lucky to get to do this for so long. And we've made some great friendships out of it, the best among them being among all of us who have gotten to host it and be part of it, me and Sam and Josh every week doing the incredible work that he does with Ghosts of the Minors, Benjamin Hill, the incredible work that he has done at MILB.com and now at MLB Pipeline throughout the entirety of his time and everything that Ben brings to the show before the show week to week. So we really just want to thank all of you for tuning in and making this possible for all of us. And hopefully you enjoyed this mega episode, this clip show edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. For Sam Dykstra, for Benjamin Hill, for Josh Jackson, for our OG co-host Jake Seiner, and all the rest at MILB.com. And MLB Pipeline. My name is Tyler Mon. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you on our next episode coming up sometime soon. It'll be by the end of October. We'll be back. You're not going to miss us. We'll talk to you then.